Hello. Can everybody say something really quick? Because I had to fix my overlay. I want to make sure it works still.
Check.
I'm
here.
Oh my goodness.
Amazing. Everything's fine. So, when last we left off, the Left Stars had bid farewell to Aventir as he returned to Horizon. And while some of the party participated in an ad hoc Goodberry sourdough baking adventure, Klax had a more clandestine meeting with an old contact of his, an elven woman named Aula. Aelua?
Works.
I'll figure it out someday.
That's what it is now.
It's Aelua. In a meeting that had been set up by Lieutenant Longold the night prior, she had spoke of a lead in the investigation into the Mistress in Red, and had quizzed Klax on the Left Star's willingness to put themselves in danger on his behalf. Klax had returned to the Left Stars to recruit them, and through a magical inkwell, contacted Aelua to learn more details on a mission meant to test their abilities. During her initial talk with Klax, she had expressed a high need for discretion on the mission because anything that would raise the alarms in the Vaughn operation while securing this flower, or doing anything against her, as a matter of fact, could have dire consequences. But the task at hand, which you learned about, is to secure a special blue flower in the possession of a high-end trader in the city. With the help of Jory, Aesop secured knowledge that could help Mouse to trace this flower, but that research is taking him the better part of the day, and we have not actually gone through that day yet. So, out of character, you all know that Aesop was able to learn what you need, but the day is young. You were sort of left at the archives to sort of do with your time as you wish. There may be other ways you want to prepare. There may be other errands you want to run throughout the city while Aesop is busy. So what would you all like to do?
Aesop let us know that it was gonna be like 8 hours.
Aesop said 5, and then he rolled an 8 because
Okay.
So
we think it'll be about 5 hours.
Yeah.
Rough.
But I'll say, just for the sake of simplicity, like, a message was passed to you that it would take a little bit longer, or that like you'll all rendezvous in 8 hours, at a location of your choice. But you do have time to kind of do at least like one run through the city, or at least one errand if you'd like.
Anybody know where the guild hall or guild? Where's my notes?
It's a little. Or Claxwood. I was gonna say our guide to the city so far seems to be predisposed.
No,
but
I was gonna say I'm looking right now on my notes.
Guild Federation.
a holding federation. Oh my.
I would guess. I don't have anything, but I'd guess probably the factory precinct would probably be my best guess. But
you could roll a history check to see if you have maybe
sure thing
seen or been through it before.
You can also ask around. I'm sure somebody around here knows.
I would say a DC 20 was for the exact location, but you do know that it's in the Southern Heights. It tends to be, which is sort of the more downtown area, which is where a lot of kind of like office-y buildings tend to be.
So last I remember, it was somewhere in the Southern Heights. I'm sure I passed it, but I don't know exactly where it was. It's somewhere down in that region. We can always go hit it up, and then we'll be going through the factory precinct. So if we have any shopping we need to do, we can always take a look on our way through.
Yeah. Baz, weren't you looking for... Nope. Clint, weren't you looking for some metal?
Yeah, we do need to try and secure some supplies to try to craft Klax's armor. Although I don't know if I think we for sure have the money yet. We get paid in 5 days, but it seems like we might have to like do a little schmoozing or something to get in good with the crafters in the area. If we're gonna try and do it ourselves, they seem to kind of have a lockdown on some of that. But we could try to stop by. I'm sure I have it buried in my notes somewhere. The place that we went to that was selling more raw materials, and see if we can convince somebody to sell it to us.
Sounds like a plan.
On our way.
That was the solar square in the factory precinct.
Let's boogie.
Okay. So you're all just sort of traveling together then throughout this part of the day?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty. Well, as you know, navigating this donut-shaped city means that it takes quite a while to get from location A to location B. So if there's anything you'd like to discuss on the way there, then you have a number of hours to do that.
So obviously we have a guild name, but like, what is our mission statement?
Thought we were
What
going
are
for-
our values?
I thought we were being bakers.
Definitely not as a front for anything else.
So we could be a bakery. We can try and get Mouse's airship and be a postal service.
What about a bakery delivery service?
With an airship.
A flying
Yeah,
food
wait.
truck.
Yeah, can you? Yeah, can the starboat have an oven?
It's a very challenging question. I'd have to talk to Fern, but I like this idea.
Yeah, nothing seems safer than a
No, I mean like
Big-
the excess heat from the oven like could inflate a balloon that like helps with lift. And yep, that's how magic works. Mhm.
It might make it easier to drive in the daytime too.
Your airship doesn't drive in the daytime?
I mean, it just works better at night.
Stars
Okay.
have something.
Like the opposite of solar powered.
No, the same as solar powered, just other solars.
Wait a minute, I have so many questions now.
It's D&D. I wonder how specific we have to be, because maybe they'd also just let us be the left stars, capable in many fields.
I mean,
Well-
isn't adventurers guild out of the question? Is that not a thing?
Potentially. And I mean, we
go
do have
around. We do tasks. We fuck shit up for people upon request. That is what an adventurer do.
we do have from Avendir some commitment for quite a bit of money for like staff. I don't know what that would look like as a adventurers guild other than just maybe hiring some other adventurers. But
We get our own B squad. We get
B
our
squad.
own little group of little rookies to be like, this is a little small job, and then we like there's like a long-term narrative where like they overtake us in terms of skill, and then they take over the guild, and like there's intergroup conflict. I can see that. I'll tell Ace up about it. He'll write about it. It'll be great.
What if we go back to that cave and recruit all the kobolds?
Yes.
I mean, at least the blue one definitely needed.
Yeah, they need money or food or something.
So like, this is less adventurers guild and more mutual aid distribution.
I mean, we could get the
Like-
kobolds to like do things.
I feel like this conversation continues for the entire 3-hour track around the.
Or we can sell drugs.
No.
I mean, he said no. That's all I'm saying. There was only one resounding no.
Well, as this conversation goes, you do eventually arrive in the Solar Square, walking through a number of districts throughout the city. You're entering the early afternoon, already getting all the way down here. As I recall, the last I had explained the whole situation in regards to metal for you, Flint, was that people were willing to sell to you, but that prices were hiked up a little bit because you weren't necessarily part of the Iron Brotherhood, who is sort of their bulk, who they provide in bulk to. So if you're looking to purchase sort of raw materials to throw into your bag, it would sort of, depending on what you're trying to make, just sort of, you can assume that the costs of it are 15% higher.
Okay. So let's see here. I believe a suit of full plate is usually 1,500,
I believe that's true.
and it takes me half, in theory. Is that?
Yes, I believe so. I know at some level, artificers get even a bigger discount on just sort of.
Yeah, that's
they-
not
yet.
me yet.
Yeah. So assuming now that it would be half, so 750
Yeah.
times 1.15 would be approximately what you're getting at.
Okay. So like 862.
Yeah.
No, 63. 62 and a half. But so Clax, how how much money do you have at this point?
He reaches back to his. Oh, let me just pull the character sheet here.
How much money do I have?
Kind of jiggles his, reaches in his bag because he keeps it in his bag. Kind of grabs it and gauges, and he's like, "If I had to guess, I probably got over 3,000."
3,000.
Oh, nope. Not doing math right. Let me try that again.
Holy cow! Where'd I
No.
spend all my money?
No.
You've been putting the
I've got
fuck
it.
out, my guy.
I've only got like 400.
400.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, there's like a little bit of difference between.
Yeah.
Yeah,
2,000
give or
and
take.
400.
I was assuming
Um,
platinum more 100 times. So
I mean,
Fair.
math is hard, so like fair.
We could try and secure. Well, sounds like it wouldn't be a problem to basically just whenever we have this amount of money, find someone here that would sell it to us for that. Is that?
You would probably run into an issue if you bought too much, but sort of what you like if you were wholesaling for like hundreds of thousands of of coins or whatever, but in this case, yes, you're fine.
Okay.
You do know that this
forget-
doesn't account for forge time or anything of that nature.
That'll be another expense.
I think at this point we probably, because I don't want to end up wiping out our money right now. If we got money coming around, I know it's around the corner, but I'd rather. Forgive me, I'm going to probably sneeze. Maybe not. I don't know. So I think we just kind of keep an eye out and maybe just ask around as we get a little more familiar with the area. But yeah, I've still got a good suit of armor. It's getting a little banged up, and my shield's getting a little banged up, but they still work. There's no doubt about it.
All right. Well, we've confirmed pricing, and we'll come back in a few days when we've got more cash.
Is there anything else to like do around here, Flax? Anything else
we
to see?
I mean, it all depends. I mean, there's the maybe I don't have a lot more, but there is the Solar Square we just went through, kind of the market. Just if there's anything else you need that's not the high end stuff from the Southern Heights, we can kind of go through there. Because if I remember correctly, the Southern Heights is like the high end. What shops are there? Like the specialty novelty shops, correct, DM?
Yeah. Here's Solar Square is where you'll find more commodities, goods, groceries, various crafting materials, simple things of that nature. But if you go to the jewel market in Southern Heights, that's where you'll perhaps be able to find things for more exquisite tastes, be it, jewelry, clothing, or if you're going to find something magical, that's probably where you'd find it as well.
So, perusing here, do I see any establishment that looks not shady enough to perhaps have some thieves' tools on hand?
How would you go about investigating that?
Like, I don't think Drada's bought a lot of things in his life. But I really think it would be a lot of cursory vibe checks. Just like, do you feel like you haven't are you selling small trinkets? Do you seem somewhat shady? Perfect. Yeah.
I would say with something like that, give me an insight check. As you're just sort of walking through stalls. Okay. I think that it's what Drada is able to determine is that there is indeed a location that probably has the sorts of things that somebody of your skill set is looking for. But that there's sort of the front is that it is sort of like a do-it-yourself bead shop. Like they have a number of these different trays of beads, and they have a lot of like equipment that that you'd use to sort of thread the needles into the jewelry that you're making, and they have sort of ropes dangling from their tent, and this is the type of place that would have sewing equipment that would to the average person appear innocent. But as you're sort of like opening one of like these bead curtains through, you see somebody paying a little too much money for what seems like a kind of a leather, like a wallet-sized leather satchel, and they sort of slide 5 platinum pieces to the teller, and there's like a nod as this person departs. And that's sort of that's the vibe check. Is like there's something more going on here than a bead shop.
A full 5 platinum. Goddamn. Okay. Yeah, I mean, at the very least, Trotta goes in thinking, okay, something's happening here, but if all else fails, I get to make an ironic friendship bracelet to give to Aesop that will make him equal parts happy and angry. So yeah, Drada strolls in.
Are you just so? Is it? I just want to be clear with a shopping day with the left stars. Have you guys all split up, sort of like going to your individual shops, perusing around? Is Drada trying to split off in this moment? Or are you bringing friends along?
I don't think Drada's actively trying to sneak. If people want to join, they can. But they could also just be
Imagine.
like, "Hey, I'm gonna pop in. It looks interesting, but if you want to join, you can."
Yeah, I don't think we're all like going crazy far away from each other.
Okay. Well, I guess I would
Not-
say who's in the shop with Flint in this example, or sorry, with Drada.
If there's a food cart nearby, I'm just gonna signal that I'm going over to the food cart and getting some munchies, and
Fair
grab
enough.
some for the group as well. Just let me know what I owe.
Okay. It seems like you guys are all just in the neighborhood, but Drada, you pull open the curtain and there's a couple of tables, and right now it's just you in here. There's a couple of tables of, you know, a mother and her child who are, they seem to have like collected a little tray of beads that she's helping her daughter to sort of thread them. And the kid cannot get the sewing needle threaded at all, and they're crying a little bit, but it's kind of bare in the customer sense at the moment. There's a couple of people just sort of looking through bins, pulling out stones and sort of inspecting them, and there's a teller behind a table that is just sort of like looking at you, kind of like within the sense of like you're not familiar, like it's either new customer energy or it's like, who are you?
Mm-hmm. I think upon being recognized, yeah, I look around for a moment looking at the wares and then walk over and I'm like, "Hi, absolutely love the jewelry. I think you are doing some really, really beautiful work." Yeah, I was wondering, I had a couple questions. Yeah, I was looking for a gift for a friend and also a gift for myself. The gift for the friend, something, nothing crazy, but something maybe a little glitzy, a little glamorous.
She sort of interrupts and says, "Are you looking to have something made, something custom made? Or we have." She sort of like reveals behind her. She pulls over like a rack that there's a number of just sort of like simple beaded necklaces hanging, some pre-made sort of items.
No, I think I would take a look at the pre-made items, and find the most. If they have prices included, find the most ostentatious one that will not go for an arm and a leg.
I would say that this is a fantasy bead shop. Like most, the 5 platinum was it's clearly where the business is. Everything here is like
Yeah.
five silver, 1 gold at most.
Right. Yeah, then I think I find some beat that are like, maybe there's some of Aesop's colors in there, but there's also like a lot of like, I don't know, just like giving like a lot of like tortoise shell and like like old lady. An old lady would love this, and maybe not Aesop would love this, but an old lady like tortoise shell, mauve, olive green. I think that's the energy the Drada would pick.
I, as a player, would love that color combination, but I digress.
For the sake of simplicity, you're able to find what you're like.
Right.
She says, she sort of pulls this out and says, "I am sure your friend would like this very much."
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think they'll absolutely love it. Now, yeah, the gift I'm looking for myself, um, it's less a gift and more, I don't know, more a tool that if something were to have, say, such as jewelry like this, something as beautiful like this, it were to have been taken from me, and I wanted to go retrieve it, but needed to get access into the person's home from which it needs to be retrieved, that could be of help.
Make an intelligence check.
Mm-hmm. Right.
As a natural one is a natural one.
Hmm?
The So we this is not a draw to nugget of information. This is a Jacob piece of
Mhm.
information. We've talked a little bit about you taking rogue and how you sort of have to like unlock Thieves' Cant a little bit, because Drada can't just sort of like know it immediately. Above board, this is sort of like there's this person who's expecting this conversation to be a little bit more under the table, and she
fully.
yeah, but as Drada sort of says all this,
Drada thinks they're being sly as hell, and they're very much not.
yeah, and Drada has no idea that there's another way to do this, and so the look that she gives you is very clear. She says, we don't have anything like that here. Maybe somewhere else.
Okay. And Drada's like, for a moment, like wink wonk, like sure, and then it's like, oh, actually no, okay, okay, sure, just the necklace then.
She holds out her hand for a coin.
And yeah, did it have a price tag listed?
We'll say it was like 7 silver.
Great, 7. We'll give a full 10. Drada's not happy with how this went and is maybe trying to desperately be like, please help me.
She'll say, she says, well, thanks very much. Do come by if your friend
would love to.
wants anything else.
What's your name? I didn't get your name.
Allura.
Allura, nice to meet you. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you'll have, I'm not sure. Maybe you'll have her
I'm gonna go help the other customers. Make a perception check as you're sort of leaving. Sort of as you're closing, as this is sort of like I'm trying to think of the terminology for it, but it's not a traditional tent. It's sort of surrounded by these like the bead walls, and as you're sort of like exiting and the beads sort of push past you and you're just a couple feet away, you see that, or you kind of hear her telling the mother and daughter that the store is closing a little early today.
Love that.
But you rendezvous with your group with a necklace in hand.
That happened. Okay, yep, great.
Find what you needed?
No, but I found something more valuable. The gift of friendship. Holding up the necklace.
Cool.
Which means jack shit. But anyways, moving on.
Is there a place nearby that I would be able to find an herbalism kit?
This would perhaps be the neighborhood where you would be looking for that. If you'd like to roll investigation.
I absolutely would.
Herbalism kit. Less shady than Thieves' Tools. And I think a DC 10 is plenty for something as simple as that. You exchange a suitable amount of coins that they probably have to coach you about which ones to give them.
I poke Flint before I go in. I was like, okay, how much am I supposed to give them again?
It's 5 gold. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if you're paying more than like five of the gold ones, the crowns, it's probably overpriced.
Got it. Do they also have materials
Uh,
to make healing potions?
I would say, well, I mean, does Mouse is Mouse proficient with herbalism?
I am. I just don't
Okay.
have one.
Okay. Then I would say you would be able to identify what those are. They're not necessarily marketed as these are healing potion herbs, but you're like, oh, there's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Functionally, that would, assuming that you're making like the basic healing potions, the supplies for that would run you, I think, 25 gold each, but then you have to still spend the time to make them as well.
Sounds good. I will then get the kit plus 25 gold worth of herbs and materials.
Okay. By the way, your microphone is staying on a lot this session. It's not a big deal, but I don't know if it's
I
just like really
turned up
sensitive.
sensitivity because it was cutting me off. I'm trying to toggle mute. If it becomes a problem, let me.
Okay, it's fine. I was just letting you know. But you find that. Clax, you procure lunch. I would say this is sort of like where you're going to find all sorts of street food.
Grab a couple. If they have like some vegetarian options, I'll grab something, being mindful of the party. But also, if there's like meat on a stick, like a big mutton rack or something, all over that.
I'd say there's like a kebab dealer who
Done.
has like grilled vegetables or grilled meats or both. Just
If
say
I were
like,
to buy enough for 6 people, knowing there's only 4 here, but if I buy enough for 6, how much would that run me?
we'll say 6 silver. You're fine.
All right. Nope. There we go. Updated it. So I'd get 3 vegetarian and 3 vegetable kebabs and 3 meat kebabs. And I'm gonna come over, walking all proud of myself. I got vegetable ones for people who want vegetables. And
See
all right, who wants what?
See if any of them make them to Aesop by the time you rendezvous.
Oh no, I bought 6 because Clags is eating what's ever left over. If we're picking Aesop food, we're getting more food on the way back.
Fair enough.
Dragonborn's got to eat, boy.
Flint will have a meat kebab.
All right, what for you? Drada?
I will take vegetarian option, please. Thank
Mouse?
you.
Whatever looks best.
Hold him up to her.
I grab whatever looks best. I'm not picky.
I tend to think this is one of those situations where it's like Clax is holding them out, but like one of them's a little further forward, and it's probably the vegetable one.
I will take.
And then the remaining 3?
There you go.
Well, and again, I guess I should clarify. Kebabs or kebabs?
I, as a DM, do not know the difference.
Kebabs, skewer, kebabs are like the shawarma type looking things.
Oh, I was thinking just skewers, but I would say you secure whatever you're looking for.
Skewers works because then just all 3 in the mouth at once, strip them off, throw the sticks, start walking and chewing.
All right.
Well, you still have some of the day left before you have to start making the return trip, assuming that you're meeting Aesop at the archives or his home.
So I think we still wanted to get to the guild hall, correct?
Okay. So you can roll with somebody can roll with advantage. Clax sort of identified the general neighborhood, but there's still sort of like a little bit of walking through streets, trying to figure out directions as you're trying to get pointed towards the Federation building. This would be investigation or persuasion, kind of depending on how you're getting this information from people.
I mean,
Does
I'm
any
happy
of
to ask around if nobody else is.
Say I'm
pretty good
happy to
at-
roll investigation, but I feel like Clax knows the city better. I don't
You guys let me
know.
know.
Drones don't know the city at all. No.
Okay. Nope. Investigation. No, I'll just take it and take the straight roll.
Okay. Well, it's still with it. Okay, it's still with advantage
Oh.
because you know the neighborhood. It's a higher DC still. Oh, there you go.
How about that?
Takes you about another hour to the point where you know, like, well, at this point, you're about 4 hours into your day, and you know that, depending on how long this takes, it may actually be that Aesop finishes ahead of you, but nonetheless, you arrive at a. It is a multi-tiered or multi-storied building that seems to be kind of. It has an old construction to it, but it's well kept. Sort of the architecture reminds you of maybe more of like a museum almost. In that it's sort of built with showmanship in mind. There's arches on the outside. There's kind of like flying buttresses that are sort of holding up these large glass windows on the sides, and there is a sign of a sort of like a ornate hammer that is above it, has the words Ventus Guild Federation above it. There's sort of a large a large arch opening with double doors that are sort of propped open inwards. And as you sort of walk in, it has the ambiance of like a cathedral or a great hall. It doesn't go as deep, but it's definitely like kind of like a somewhat ornate sitting room. There are couches on the sides and various statues of sort of like people in somewhat fanciful poses. Some who are like holding a cane, and some who are like adjusting a pin on their jacket. Some who are like elven, some who are one of them's like a lizard person, but not dragonborn. It's more of like a lizard folk or salamander sort of type person. Some of them have other decorative elements to it, but this entire room is very well lit with the sort of large windows on the sides. And at this time of day, there are a number of people coming in and out of this building who seem to perhaps like work here, people who might be sort of delivering messages or sort of like are going past the sort of entry area to go upstairs into or out of their offices that must be up there. But you guys sort of approach this front desk, and this sort of half-orc receptionist woman sort of looks at you all. Who's sort of approaching in front in this moment?
Yes, Flint?
I'll go with you.
Okay. I mean, you're all there, but she sort of like assesses the party, looks down at those the two halflings, halfling and gnome in front, and she says, "You all here to schedule an appointment? Do you have an appointment?"
We don't have an appointment, but we've recently kind of got some commitment from our patron to start our own guild, and we're kind of just curious about the process and getting that started. Sounds like maybe it's booking an appointment or making an appointment.
She says, "Do you have paperwork?"
Yeah, I'll take out the patron contract. Do we
Okay.
have with Avendir?
Yeah, I think you had that in your bag of holding.
I think so.
She extends her arm down towards you to reach for it, and sort of, she just sort of like says one moment, and she pulls some glasses off a desk, and puts it down in front of her. You can't actually see the workspace that she has because you're kind of like underneath the desk, and she's sort of looking down at it. But you see that she's sort of like muttering to herself as she's reading it over. And then she sort of like pulls out another book and starts flipping through it. And so she says, yes, it does seem that everything is in order. Do you have an idea of what you would like to be?
We've had a couple of ideas, but really nothing certain. Do you have like a
Let me
log?
set you up with. Wait here one moment. She'll hand you the letter back, and then she sort of exits into a back room, and sort of like leaves you guys there at the foyer for a few minutes. If there's anything you'd like to discuss.
So we're just going with Adventuring Guild.
I don't know. I don't know what she's gonna set us up with. Can Flint just glance around? Do they have anything that just like looks like a logbook of local guilds or anything like that?
The way that the desk is set up, you can't really like see what's on her desk. But
Okay.
just go ahead and roll me a perception check.
Sure. This
Okay. You take these few minutes to sort of walk around and sort of look at this sort of seating area, and you notice that a lot of the statues below them on placards, there seem to be lists of guild names that are, you don't necessarily know if they are all currently in service or if these are an archive of past guilds or retired guilds or currently working guilds. But you see that there are 6 different statues that each have their own placard, and it sort of has the range of like adventurers guilds, warriors guilds, which you tend to sort of looking through it. It seems to be more people who are looking for fighting specifically, whereas adventurers guilds seem to be more diverse tasks. Laborers guilds, mercantile guilds, performers guilds, and arcane guilds. There are you sort of are giving them a quick glance. Ones that you sort of immediately recognize with a 19. Under the Laborers Guild, you do see Delver's Lodge, which is one that you've sort of have that has stood out a little bit.
Sorry, you see that's under laborers?
Yes. And you also do see the Vaughn trading family under mercantile guilds, as well as the Ferelia family, which you only people anybody who may be watching the stream doesn't see all these thumbs down on the webcams. And under mercantile guilds, you also see the Jade Mask.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Do these have like their crests or symbols or anything next to them?
No, this particularly seems to be like an etching, like a stone etching of just names.
Okay.
And there are a number of other guilds as well. One actually, sorry, I'm looking through the list of. Some of these I've sort of fleshed out. Some of them are just like bullet points of what they might be. But you also see Recovery Squad as a warrior guild, which you know what you know from Aesop. It's like they're not necessarily just warriors, but for whatever purpose, they seem to be listed as a warrior guild, at least here at the Federation. I think that's probably all that you would immediately recognize.
Is there any just random name under adventurers that I can just take note of?
Sorry, I'm remembering. I have it, but you see one that is at the bottom of the etching. You see Lambert, the Lambert Lancers.
All right.
But so you just sort of take a quick scan of these guilds.
Yeah.
And eventually you hear the door. Well, is anybody else doing anything as sort of Flint is poking around before this person returns?
Nope, I'm good on my end.
Okay. Eventually the half-orc woman returns, and behind her is this kind of like pigeon Aarakocra. I love the idea of like different Aarakocra, not just all falcons. But like a somewhat like almost a scholarly looking figure. They have like glasses on, and they're kind of like a little fat. But approaching behind, says, Yes, my name is Searock. I am happy to discuss options with you. Please come in. And a sort of like side door, they meet you at a side door and let you in to come and have a meeting to discuss all these options.
Sure.
You're all eventually led through like a sort of spiral stairway that leads up into a sort of an open concept office space, for lack of a better word. I don't know what the fantasy equivalent of cubicles are, but this is sort of the vibe that we're getting here, is that you are all crowded into a somewhat large cubicle to meet with this Searock fellow, who sort of sits down with a small note table and a ledger, and various chairs are pulled inside this space so that you can all sort of sit down and talk. And says, "I hear from Ruby downstairs that you all are the partners with one Avendir Summerbreeze, I believe."
Correct. We go by the Left Stars.
Good. And what would the Left Stars like to do for the great island of Ventus?
Help?
Well, that's very ambitious and kind. But perhaps another way to phrase it is, what are your specialties and your interests? What are the things
Doing
that...
tasks when requested.
I'd say we're probably, as our own group, probably closest to adventurers, I would say. Tend to be kind of problem solvers for Avendir.
We have some bigger kind of quests lined up, I guess, and members of our party have gone on to win fantastic, extravagant contests and the like. So adventuring seems not on.
It's true. One of our members isn't here today, but is Aesop, and he recently won the Tournament of Tales. If you've heard of it.
Just got him this necklace that he's really gonna love.
Searock doesn't show any recognition, but it says, "Oh, good. Well, so I should ask, I mean, what sort of commitment are you looking to put forward? Are you looking to have clients who reach out and provide opportunities for you? Or are you looking to be more on call for perhaps high priority government needs? Are you looking to be more sort of freelancers who do things your own way but have a base of operations or a tether to the Federation? How do you sort of imagine your guild being structured?
Well, I think we're pretty much always on call for Avendir, and at this point, I think his needs are probably going to come first. So I don't know that we can be consistently on call for the higher ups. Also, not a huge fan sometimes. So I think more of a freelance help where we need to assist and seek out clients on our own when we have free time.
Sirach kind of looks towards you all to see if there's general consensus with that statement. Very,
I would nod.
very
So-
good.
Well, quick question: if we wanted to, in the future, change our guild, is that we have to establish a new one, or is that something that can be done over time as we figure things out?
Amendments can be made. Roll an insight check.
Okay.
I'll let one other person do it in addition to Clax, just since you're all there.
I will assist.
Yep. Hopefully, somebody does better than I do. Nope, or the same. Well, you get a much bigger plus.
Claxis kind of just goes over your head with, I would say, Mouse with a 14 is sort of like a disappointment in that changes can be made statement. maybe there's like paperwork or something. You don't know where that discomfort's coming from, but changes can be made. Of course, we want to secure. I would say we want to make sure that this is the right fit for the Federation before we really go in too deep in sort of laying down the groundwork for all this.
Guys, do you think this is something we should talk to Aesop about?
Yeah, I don't think we were going to make any definitive decisions today. I think it was more just fact finding and getting a sense for our options.
Well, should you wish to return, assuming this is the direction you go in, please do let me know what sort of trial you would like. There's a variety of options. The specifics will not be given to you immediately, but in order to become a member of the Guild Federation and to unlock all the privileges that Avendir seems to be sponsoring for you, we will give you a sort of entry task. Those could be, if you have a preference, we have escort tasks, rescue tasks, exploration, hunting, diplomacy, crafting, gathering, intelligence, training. You let us know what sort of way you would like to prove yourself, and we will come up with a suitable mission to make sure that can happen.
If we were to, set up a guild, do we need any sort of charter, or is there any documentation required? Is there anything basically that we should prep ahead of time?
Nothing ahead of time, but you should be expected, or you and your entire party. And I think Ruby said something about potential for additional hires. Anybody who is identified as being part of the guild's founding should be in attendance once the mission is concluded. So that way we can sort of establish a lot of the starting paperwork and documentation. If you sort of as a DM, I'm pausing because it's not like there's any IDs or social security numbers or anything. So I'm trying to think of like what she would ask for or what he would ask for. He says, if you have any anything that might represent a conflict of interest, we would need you to disclose that in advance, because it may, if there's any missions that or partners that you have that might, such as Avendir, take priority over the Federation, then we would want to know that in advance. But otherwise, we can sort all that out once the task is completed.
Okay. Out of curiosity, if we were going to want to hire a guild or pay them for their services, is there any sort of like catalog of the guilds that we can peruse and learn about them?
We don't have that sort of information that we give freely, but if you do have a letter from one of the guilds to go into their records, then you could do that. Or once you join the Federation, there is sort of a packet that will provide just information that you can know about the rest of the guilds and the benefits that being part of the Federation gives.
Sure.
To be clear, though, that is also part of the Federation, is that people may come to you with requests as well.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions before we go back and chat with Aesop?
Nope, I'm good on my end.
All right. Gives us some food for thought.
Very well. Do please come and see me. If they tell you to set up an appointment, just say that you have one with Sirach, and I'm sure they'll find me.
Thank you very much for your time today.
Of course, and starts to stand up and escort you all downstairs.
As he's like leading us away from his desk, does he have anything that looks like official, like guild federation, stationery or anything on his desk?
Question.
Does letterhead exist in my fantasy?
Yeah, I don't know.
For a seal.
Yeah, I mean, I did share. I would say, at a quick glance, what you really notice is that he is wearing a badge on his coat that represents the hammer that you saw on the front sign of the Federation door. But you don't see anything that you don't really see anything beyond that sort of like matches that iconography on hand.
Okay. I'm just basically looking for things that I might potentially use as examples when trying to forge something later.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you clock that I would say go ahead and give me a perception check with that level of specificity.
Sure.
like there's no signet rings or anything, but I would say with a 19, there is like a stack of envelopes that you see, almost like it's in an outgoing mailbox, but that seem to be pressed with that wax seal of the hammer. So you get the impression that this is one way that you would forge a document here at the very least.
Yeah, I'll definitely kind of take a close look at, or well, not a close look, but just try and carefully remember it as much as I can at a glance as we leave.
Yeah, as you are inevitably let out of the, like, he lets you out and says, please come by again, and you guys leave. And as you're sort of at the front door of this big building, the sign that you see hanging outside, you can internalize the details of that sign and take a closer inspection of it. You just know that it would probably need to be much smaller.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
Prada fully taps the their chest portion of their cloak, and lo and behold, a little badge similar to the one on the man appears. Being like, yeah, we can make that happen if we want.
All right, back to the university. Got a long ways to walk.
Upper check-in.
All right.
All right. Well, as you guys are walking, I think, so would the rendezvous point be Aesop's home or the archives? Just to be clear.
Well, I think at this point, you said, so we spent 3 hours getting down there, and we probably burned another 2 hours here at least. So it's going to be 8 hours till we get back, right? If not longer. Okay. So 9. I think Aesop's house would make the most sense then, right? Because I doubt he's just going to wait at the archives for us. Maybe he does, but...
You guys would have determined a rendezvous point in advance is sort of where I'm getting at, so...
Oh, my apologies.
If you want to know where, and I also, before we fast forward to that moment, Aesop has the opportunity to say goodbye to Jory, so presumably could spend an extra hour at the archives as well.
If I can find a small bird, I will pet it and make it my friend, and then cast Animal Messenger, because it can probably fly over the center area, and I will tell it to look for a Minotaur in the university, and let him know that we will meet back at his house.
Okay. We'll say that happened earlier in the day as well. So as the party is... or no, yeah, that's right. You said it would fly over the center, so it doesn't really need to do that. As the party's walking back, Aesop, you're sort of nose deep in these books.
Mm-hmm.
And as I explained at the end of the last session, you gleamed the information that you believe to be to suit the needs of the spells that Mouse was talking about. A blue harlequin flower that would be native, that would normally be native to the Nightmare. And it's sort of like, as you we'll just sort of start from your eureka moment where you're like, oh, and you're sort of sitting next to Jory as you have this realization. He's sort of off reading in some other book.
So it would probably be at the 7-hour mark that I get to this point. Well, I imagine, it took me all day to sort through books on such very general knowledge and trying to skim down to very specific facts. But I just kind of breathe heavily and I'm like, oh god, I haven't studied like that in a very long time. Is this what your job is like every day? I feel like got a kink in my back. What the hell?
He looks up from some book that he's looking at and says, well, for me, it's not studying. It's well, it is, but it's just interesting. It's fun. There's so many things in here that people just don't know about or that they forgot about, and it's just sometimes I like to look at these things and think that I'm maybe the first person who's looked at it in 100 years, and that's just sort of like I don't know, makes me feel a little important sometimes.
In my head, in Aesop's head, I'm thinking, wow, that's really hot. What I say is, what's your actual job here?
I am currently just sort of an assistant to the dean, who was the judge at your competition.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just an assistant for him, helping him with, frankly, cataloging a lot of things that there's he pauses and he's like, there's an element of it that is boring because none of what I'm doing currently matters. The record system got a little messed up some time ago, and so we're just sort of reassembling it.
Thanks.
But it gives me the opportunity to sort of figure out what the scope of this place is, as he sort of like holds his hand out to the library.
Yeah, that system that you guys got, that's pretty handy.
It is when it works, but that's sort of the crux of the issue, is that a lot of these books are not labeled in a way
Ooh.
that can be found. So I'm glad you found what you were looking for.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess I'm doing my job.
You are. You're doing a perfect job. Have you seen or hung out with anyone else? Savvy, Poppy, any of them?
I went to one of Savvy's shows. Maybe he sort of like is counting in his head. Make an insight check.
Do insight check. And there we go. Hey.
He says that he's been to one of Savvy's shows, and you read his face, and the impression you're getting is that he's trying to count backwards to see how long it's been since that happened, and the impression you're getting is that
It's been a while.
it's not only has it been a while, but it's sort of like working in a building like this where there's no natural sunlight and working long hours, kind of cataloging books. There's a degree of like isolation that comes with that, and that he probably doesn't get to go out that much with his current situation. So it's like the read you're getting is like, yeah, I must have seen a show sometime in the last year, but I don't know when.
Right.
He doesn't say it like that, but that's what you kind of get. And he says, yeah, she was... there was some... I didn't really pay too much attention. I just really went to go see her and see what she was up to. I haven't, unfortunately, really kept in touch with everybody as much as I wanted to.
Do you happen to know where they are? While I'm here, I would love to just try to hang out with everyone. Maybe get the gang back together if we're all free.
That would be great. Unfortunately, I don't really know. I know I am still, because of my job here, they let me keep my dormitory, just to kind of keep me close, I guess. But I know that they all moved out. I think they're still in the city, but...
Speaking of, I pull out the bobblehead that I found. What is this? I ran into this in a completely different city. What? Rockstar now? A traveling musician?
Wait,
I'll
sorry.
hand it to him.
Out of character. Didn't Jory give that to you?
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just want, okay, rewind.
Rewinds. It's been a while.
But you can still pull it out and be like, where did you find this or something, you know?
Yeah, sure, I'll ask that.
He says, that's right. He came by. He found me and gave it to me.
Oh.
I think, yeah, I truthfully don't know how it was made, or if he made it himself, or if there's like a lot of them floating around.
Right.
Now that I think about it, I think he did say something about leaving the city for a while. He suggested that he had a gig somewhere south, but I don't.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if I ever find a means of talking to them or reaching out, I will. But if Savvy has another show here, I would love to go together. I think that would be really fun. Get you out of this dusty old room.
He smiles warmly, and with the insight, you can tell that was like, with your previous insight roll, you can tell that that's like well received. And says, sure, can I, perhaps, would you mind going to see what the theater shows are, and then let me see what my schedule's looking like?
Which, let me pull up my notes real quick. It is the the Hyperia Theater, right?
Yes. And you would know that to be in the Southern. You would know exactly where it is. You've been there.
Yes.
But he says like, let me. I don't know when you're thinking, but I'll try to figure out my schedule for the next week or so, and then if you can just sort of find the theater schedules, maybe something will add up, and we'll make plans.
Perfect. Yeah.
Did you want to invite everybody, or are you just thinking of the two of us?
And then he says that, and I'm like, I like hesitate.
I mean, it's up to you. He says.
I'll hesitate in character and be like, no, we should get everyone else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me know. Just he also writes. He pulls out a slip of paper and says, sort of hands it to you. It seems to be like functionally a permission slip that if Jory is in the archives, that you can give it to the goblin and be escorted in the same way. And says, well, you can find me here most days. I don't get out too much, so just stop by when you get the schedule and we can set something up.
I think we both deserve a trip to Mother Mary's. I don't know if you've been lately. They've been doing well. It was the first place that I took my new friends to, and they're all just so kind there. They really are just lovely people.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Not tonight though. I'm sorry. I'm a little backed up.
That I understand. I've seen as all the books that you have here to kind of go through and organize. And that did I tell you about parent stuff? Did I give you that update? Have I seen you? I don't think I've seen you.
I think you told me that they were invited to the tournament.
Yeah. Turns out they're on a mission again. And of course, my father just loves to run into battle, I suppose, and guess my mom can't really stay behind if he goes. But they've been gone to a different island, and they're supposed to be back by now. So that doesn't feel great. But knowing them, hopefully they have things handled, or at least taking care of themselves. But they should have been back. I stopped by the horns, and of course, no one was there except for a few administrative officers, and the one that I talked to kind of gave me the rundown of it.
Can you roll me another insight check? You're rolling
That was
high.
almost a 4. That was almost a 4.
Like partway through your conversation is sort of like the harried look of somebody who's like trying to multitask, like listening in one ear but also working in the other. And you do get a sense of like he is feeling stressed by the workload, but like at the point where it goes from telling a story to sort of sharing your feelings about the situation with your family, you can see he like puts the pen down and gives you his full attention and sort of like understands that this is stressing you out. And he sort of like is able to transition his mindset to give you sort of the support you need. And he says, well, I imagine this to be true. You can tell me if it's not, but they've always come back before. I mean,
True.
I've only met them in the loose capacity that I've been able to, but they seem to be the type of people who can definitely take care of themselves, and I know that's, I'm sorry that they're not there, but hopefully, given their track record, all should be well.
Yeah. I just would like to see them, or have them see, like, what I'm doing with my life. I left the city and traveled just to figure myself out, and they haven't seen me. So I was kind of hoping the stop back into the city would be the reunion and the, like, hope you're proud of me sort of conversation, but I guess they'll have to wait.
He sort of the impression you get is like he's looking for the right words to say, and is trying to not say anything that would be the wrong thing to say, and what you get is sort of like, well, maybe that's what it means to be grown-ups now, is that we kind of, yeah. I mean, I haven't seen my family in some time myself, so
I hope they're doing okay.
I imagine so. But, we just have to, know that we'll catch up with them eventually and treasure that time that we do get to spend together. Or the time that once you do get to see your parents, which I'm sure that you will.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll have great stories to tell them. If you saw them,
That is true.
If you saw them every day, it would just be like so
mundane, nothing
yeah.
exciting. Yeah,
But
a lot definitely has happened in the many weeks since I've joined this group. Seems like we just never get a break. Sometimes one day just isn't enough for the shenanigans that we all get into, but I guess they wouldn't have it any other way right now. I think this is exactly what I needed. And if it weren't for getting into this group, I wouldn't have joined the tournament or been put into the tournament. So things happen for a reason.
Are you worried that your parents won't be proud of the things that you've done? Because you've done a lot of things to be proud of. So
yeah, well, as you know, I didn't really join them. I didn't really take part in the recovery squad or perform any duties, take a role. And I don't know, growing up being the son of essentially the two leaders of the organization, kind of felt like I had to a little bit, but kind of get that pressure from your parents of like, oh, continuing the family legacy sort of thing. But I'm glad I was the first one to go to college. I'm glad I kind of took a different path, not knowing if I would succeed or not, but it all managed in the end. I think successfully.
You let out a short laugh, and he smiles, and he looks like he's about to speak up again, but you hear the door opening behind you, and you see kind of the familiar snow-colored skin of the Dean of History, Guros Alabaster, the one who was judging at the tournament, who enters and sort of enters in a bit of a gruff.
I know, I like stand up straight, or not stand up, I like sit up.
But before even seeing that you're there, he says, Jory, I need, and then sort of looks towards you and says, oh, I see you have company.
Hi, Dean. I will be getting out of your guys' hair. Jory, thank you for the research help. You have a wonderful assistant here, and he'll do many great things for you.
He had a little bit of a hard expression coming in, but he softens a little bit and says, you're not wrong about that, but I do need to steal him back, so...
Of course. I'll get out of your guys' hair. Thanks for listening, Jory, and I'll pocket the permission slip in my pocket, kind of like, so he doesn't see that I have it.
You don't necessarily, it's not necessarily taboo to have it, but
okay.
Just, but it may be a little bit more taboo to take Jory's time, not to visit,
right.
But he, in this moment, Jory is sort of like, doesn't have the chance to give a proper farewell, because he is sort of like picking up a stack of books and walking over to Guros, and so he sort of like manhandles the books, and with the dexterity he has, sort of waves to you to say farewell, and says, let me know when you get that schedule.
I'll keep you updated. And as I close the door, as I'm assuming they're going to stay in that room, maybe, or they following me out, I'll close the door, and I'm like, gosh, he is such a nerd. And I'm like blushing to myself and walking out.
Okay. I feel like we had an hour of gameplay perusing the city with the rest of the party, and then some catch-up time with you, but I want to make sure we can bring the group together. So now there was as you sort of step out of the archives, there's this bird perched on a tree that starts shouting in Mouse's voice.
Oh my god. I'm like, Mouse? Hello? Mouse? And I'll like kind of follow the sound up to the bird. And I'm like, oh. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen her use this before. This is really weird.
Hope your research is going well. We'll see you at home.
And then the bird flies away.
Okay, thank you. Was that her? But she can't talked while she's an animal. I'll have to ask. Now I'll walk back to the house.
Yeah, it's like you've heard parrots or things like mimic the sound of people, but this was
Sure.
just literally Mouse's voice that's
Right.
just chirping out of this bird. But you all eventually rendezvous. You guys sort of settle into Aesop's home. I would say you guys don't need to break in. I guess there's like a key under the mat or something. I don't know. You guys are relaxing, waiting for Aesop and for a few minutes before he inevitably returns.
Good evening, everyone. Hope your guys' day went really well.
Did I find any food on the way back? By the way, just not to retcon, but closer to his home because I want it to be somewhat warm.
Yeah, I mean you're not gonna find anything other than like the equivalent of convenience store food unless you go to a restaurant up here.
Nope, I just want to have something.
Yeah, you get like a loaf of bread and some like a dry ham. You know, something that you can cut up for people.
So I got you a loaf of bread for you.
Oh, thank you. You didn't have to. I'll add it to add it onto the kitchen counter. So yes, oh my god, I found information about the flower. I'm like sitting here not thinking. Okay. Everyone take out your pens and pencils. So essentially, wow, do I even have the right page? Yes. Okay. So the flower we're looking for is called a harlequin flower, and they come in many shapes, or not many shapes, many colors. However, the blue one, which is the one we were requested for, right, Clax? A blue flower, is the most rare one. So it will probably be either under lock and key, hard to get in general, or I don't know. We might be expecting some security. It's a pretty rare flower. And when used appropriately can provide visions that when inhaled, not consumed, inhaled in a specific location, you could see essentially the history of the area around you, kind of just what happened in that area. So if you're in a city, battlefield, you can see kind of the history behind all that. Only inhale the flames. There have been cases of people putting them into a drink or a tea, which I think isn't that what the vapor drug is?
Oh, sorry.
Using
this may have been lost in translation, but the you do brew a tea with it, but you inhale the vapor from the tea.
I see. Yes,
the steam.
I did not get that. So recon that, and up to 10 people can do it at a time per tea. So it's pretty interesting. Definitely a lot of elvish history behind it, which I can see why they're pretty upset. Whoever your contact is pretty upset that they are using it for other means. However, we might just find a little bit more than what we were expecting when trying to get the flower. That's kind of what I took away from it.
You would also, I would say, one of the details that Mouse would have asked for to unlock her spell is that you would describe the origins of the flower, that it is grows in caves.
Yes.
Within the Nightmire. And I forget if I mentioned this, but it sort of grows in a sort of like high humidity environment under the caves.
I will relate that to Mouse, as you probably asked that same question. So yeah, unfortunately it did take that long, just because my general search was general, and I kind of had to search the books specifically talking about it.
No, that seems very successful. I think this is enough for me to work with. Should we see if should we try the spell?
Oh. How far is the radius for the spell?
5 miles. How big is this town?
Considerably larger than that. Out of character.
I was gonna say it took us 3 miles or 3 to 4 hours to walk around it.
Yeah.
Probably walk
And we figure
4 miles an hour.
Casual rate 3, but a little fast 4. So 9 miles just to get around there. So if you're in the dead center, 5 miles might work.
I mean, we're at the end of the night. We might as well
Try.
see.
Yeah.
I'll go outside with my star map and just kind of sit out front and spread it out on the ground. And I assume the stars are starting to poke through the sky, and just see if concentrating on a blue harlequin flower and looking to the stars to see if there's a direction I feel pulled, if I get the sense of a blue harlequin flower within 5 miles.
Are you casting, just confirming what you're casting and if it's like a ritual or what?
I am ritually casting because we have time and why not. Locate animals or plants.
Okay. What does that ritual look like for Mouse?
Yeah, so I think I would spread out my map in front of me and kind of do some quick sketching of just pulling from the different stars associated with flowers, and that one star that an old friend used to call on every time they lost something, and see if finding those in the sky, if I feel that they can point me in the correct direction.
Okay. The stars are only just barely peeking out right now, but nonetheless you can sort of establish that connection, but you don't get anything returned to you at the moment.
Didn't work. We may have to look a little further, but at least we know it's not in this neighborhood, or the spell didn't work.
Most
Should you
likely
try
not
it?
in this neighborhood. Maybe we can try going into the next tomorrow and just into the Van Centery and trying then.
Should you try it for like the other colors? I don't know if you know enough to try and cast the spell for like the red ones or the. I don't remember if there are any other colors other than red that we are aware of.
I mean, I could probably just focus generically and drop the color. But aren't we specifically looking for a blue one?
Yeah, but if we find out that there's like a hideout nearby with a whole bunch of red ones, it might tell us some other interesting information.
Sure, it's a bit stuffy in here anyway. I'll go outside and spread my map out again and see if I can find any harlequin flowers.
Thus, the pattern continued all night with less and less specific flowers.
I have flowers literally in my bag, so eventually we're gonna find some flowers.
True.
Oh yes, there's a flower on the porch in the garden. You do not detect any red harlequin flowers within 5 miles. Clax, roll history check.
Okay.
I stay outside a little longer than I need to.
Natty 20.
Hey.
I have been rolling really well tonight. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Clax, you would know actually that the drug that is turned into vapor, the sort of it must originate from red flowers, but whatever it is that the consumers are using is more of a powder. So all that really tells you is that
if I may extrapolate, more than likely the raw material of the flour itself is probably not here. What's being imported is the ground up residue that's being used to distribute.
Yeah, which probably would not be locatable through this spell.
I can locate plants, not plant products.
Yeah.
Well, is it possible that because of how rare this blue harlequin is, that maybe somebody's protecting it with magic?
That could be true.
Would
Well.
any of us know of any kind of magic that could shield that?
I definitely don't know it right now.
I don't think I would either. It's just postulating.
I, as a player, know how that works classically in certain settings. But I'm not sure if I think Flint would know or not.
You can roll Arcana check for Flint, just thinking about such things. I would say, being a holder of a bag of holding, that you imagine such a thing could complicate things, because things placed in a bag of holding technically aren't on this plane. So if somebody secured their items in a bag similar to yours, you're not sure, like, I as a DM am not sure how that would read, but that it would definitely be like at least a little murky at minimum, if not completely invisible. Otherwise, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I know I, as a player, know in many of the spells they describe, like, if there's like
lead,
a thin amount of lead or
There's
whatever.
also,
I don't know
there's
if that's
also
a thing in your world.
Yes, there's also things that would, such as that, that would prevent divination effects, and I believe locate animals or plants probably is a divination spell, I would guess.
Maybe soon.
So yeah, it's something that was surrounded in like a lead box, for example, would perhaps avoid detection in that way.
It will convey these ideas to the group. Depending on how they're keeping it, which I have to think about if I think a bag of holding would be problematic for a plant.
Well, I think a lead box probably would.
Well, there's not much air in a bag of holding. But
I would say,
I don't know how much.
When you think about, with the Arcana 20, now that I'm thinking about this more as the DM, and now that Flint is saying it out loud, another detail that Aesop had got that probably would have shared is that the idea that this flower is fragile, and for it to not receive the nutrients that it would need in its natural state, you imagine that it would need to be stored somewhere where that sort of mimics what it would be like back where it grew originally. So a bag of holding would not meet that criteria.
So it's probably not a bag of holding. And unless they've got some pretty fancy, like, other dimensional, thing that's got daylight and whatever in it, it's probably just too far away.
Well,
Are we going out tonight then, or are we waiting tomorrow?
that's what I was just about to ask. I mean, not that, again, I don't know. Honestly, because it's one of those things, discretion is probably the better situation here, and night might be a little bit better, but I'm not very useful at night if something goes wrong.
I mean, if we try and go out now, you go back to, I believe it was in the factory precinct where we needed to meet this person.
Mm-hmm.
That's
not quite.
Not quite.
The way Alua had
penitentiary.
Yeah.
Penitentiary, okay.
Which is on the edge. This is the penitentiary Claxwood now.
Okay. Alright. So it'll probably take us 3 to 4 hours to get there. And 3 to 4 hours.
More it is.
So it would be quite the late night if we try and go tonight.
Yeah.
Good. We haven't done much.
Maybe we go during the day. That way we can see.
Sounds like a plan to me.
What is the penitentiary? Is it?
I mean, it just looks like this very ominous building on this map. So, Clax, Aesop, what is?
It's
I
a
have no idea.
penitentiary. What do you mean? Like,
Is there history to it? Like, why is it outside the city walls? Other than if people escape, they don't have
NIMBY?
they don't terrorize. Okay.
I mean, would you like to have a penitentiary near where you either work or sleep?
As a player who does in real life, great. No, that's fair, but also then if they escape, it's real easy for them to escape. I don't know. I don't know how prisons are designed.
I guess there is some it looks like housing and whatever over near there, so it's not just a penitentiary.
I don't know that you guys also have a physical map in front of you. It's sort of a
Fair enough.
That's
unless you're gonna buy
It's
a map from
spooky on the
somewhere.
map, and I got excited by it.
Super spooky.
Just seems a little weird to me that we're going to go make a shady deal right next to the penitentiary, but sure.
Well, again, the edge is more than just the pens out there. A lot of people make their way there. They live there. It's affordable. Whether it's nice or not, it's a different story.
Clax, can I give you a history check
Absolutely.
opportunity? You're still rolling decent.
Yep.
So you know at least one name of somebody who's been put away here.
Oh, I do. Absolutely.
But I wouldn't say that you've necessarily been inside. But one detail that you know about it. Trying to think of a way to phrase this. You know, in The Dark Knight Rises, the prison that sort of gives you hope because you can see the sky above you and you have to climb out of it. This is a little bit the opposite, is in that one of the only open exits is the cliffside. That one way that people can get out of this prison is to jump off. There are, and you know that there are protections in place to make sure that people can't access flying devices or fly spells or things of that nature, to sort of circumvent that.
So, back to Drada, your question with regards to, I believe it was you who asked about, is there anything special about this place? It's built right along the edge, so suicide's always an option.
Well, that's lovely.
Oh, the people who are there deserve to be there, I assure you.
All right. So we're
I think we're resting tonight.
resting for the night, and then we'll go tomorrow. Okay. You guys know much about what's in these fancy marble walls?
Well, that's where the what's the word I'm looking for? The elite live.
Ah.
So
So your favorite people.
Oh, you've got it. My favorite person lives in those marbled walls.
I'm now suddenly much more intrigued. Speaking of the elite and/or fancy people, this is a bad segue. Elite people having nice fancy things. Aesop, I got you a gift.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't consider myself elite or fancy, but thank you.
Hence the bad segue.
Oh, you are just the king of doing those bad, awful segues.
Thank you. And I just thought it really screamed you.
Aw,
Right.
you didn't have to
Out.
give me anything.
I put it on your neck before you can object.
Before I see it. And it's a beaded necklace.
It's like big, chunky, tortoise shell, olive green, beige, mauve, like dark wood.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
I'm like, wow, okay. This is really cute. Thank you.
That was definitely the intention of me going to the establishment in which I purchased this, was to find something that you would look great in.
Oh, do you know, I never thought about these color combinations before, so thank you very much for giving me
I'm
this
so
new
glad.
perspective. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm. It's like kind of jingles on my neck. I'm like, oh, these are a lot
Your
bigger when
AC
they're
is
down
now
here.
+7.
I wish
So
I
it's
wear it
it's
every
like a
day.
distraction bonus. Well, is there any additional conversations you'd like to have, and or watches people would like to take as you sort of settle in for the night at the Aesop, the Tiern family home?
Yeah. Clax, do you think we're getting ourselves a little bit more involved? I think I would feel a little bit safer if we did watches from now on.
Enough said. I'll take first watch.
I'll go second.
I can take third.
I'll go first with Clax.
I'll go third with Drada.
Then let's take a break first, and then we will do these watches and move on to the next leg of the adventure.
Woo!
Cool. We will be back. All right, we are back. Folks bed down after eating sufficient ham and or bread. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think first watch is Mouse Aesop, second watch is Solo Clax.
I had Clax Mouse first, Aesop
is Solo.
second.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and then Draw to Flint.
Okay, gotcha. I wrote it down wrong. Okay, then let's start with Mouse and Clax. If you could both roll a perception check, and then feel free to discuss. Where are you having? Are you guys like sitting on the porch? Or are you in the living room? What, just sort of setting the scene. What does a watch with these two look like?
I mean, if there's a porch, Mouse will push to be out on the porch.
Then I'd be out there with Mouse as well. So
Sure.
Mouse, tell me a little bit more about these stars of yours. I know we can't see a lot in the city, but
There are actually a couple things we can see more of here, which is a little strange to me, but I mean, really, I don't know that much more about the stars than you do. I just maybe have spent more time looking at them. Where I come from, they're kind of revered as the constant. They see everything, and they don't ever change. And they're sort of just this overriding and consistent, not power, but watching over all of us. And there's both a comfort there and a just understanding that we don't matter very much. Collectively, we can make changes and make a difference, but like individually, our existence isn't really a very big deal. I think people lose sight of that sometimes, especially on this continent.
well, first of all, that's a little depressing to think about it that way. Like, don't you want to think that we're important?
I mean, no.
I'll be honest, I think I'm important.
I mean, I think my unimportance allows us to focus on how we can help the people closest to us right now and not worry too much about what comes next.
Okay.
The best you can do is what's right here, because you're not going to impact the stars. So make people feel good when you can.
But with that, though, how do you... Oh, go ahead, Mouse.
Oh, I was going to change the subject. I was going to ask you why everyone on this continent seems so intent on sorting people. Like, why do some people live in this white-walled city and some people are locked in this penitentiary place?
Well, start with the penitentiary because that's easier. You know, we have rules. We have laws that we all abide by to make sure that everyone gets a fair shot at their life here, and when you break those rules, that's where you end up, is the penitentiary. So that's the easy question. Now, why do people live behind the marbled walls? That's a little more of a difficult question to answer. The easy answer, the easy way out, is there are people who have benefited from fortunate situations and become wealthy, and with wealth comes power, and therefore they're able to build their nice walls and live nice lifestyles and have the finest goods and do the finest things and all that. And then to your point, they don't understand that they're not a small player in the grand scheme of things and really act like they're important and don't do what they can to help their fellow person on this plane. And it's a real shame, Because other than the Avendir, I can't think of a noble I've met that I think is worth their weight. Most of them are egotistical, conceited, greedy, obnoxious. I could keep going on. But, so what's the real answer? I think generally to be someone who lives in those marbled walls, you have to have a certain mentality to be able to take advantage of people. And I think those people who are living in those walls have gotten to be very, very good at taking advantage of people.
I mean, but that doesn't make any sense either. If the people in the penitentiary are there because they didn't abide by the rules that were fair, it doesn't seem very fair that people are behind these walls. Shouldn't they be in the penitentiary?
Oh, you are so wise, young one, or little one. You are 100% correct. The problem we run into over here on this continent, and again, forgive me because I don't know yours, I'm just assuming based on the way you talk, is in this continent, money does a lot. Money moves all obstacles. Money bends all rules. And so when you have enough of it, you don't play by the same rules that the rest of us play by. And that's why I'm having this conversation with my contact. And that's why we're on this errand to find a flower. If they're not going to play by the rules of society, then we're going to have to go above those rules and force our way into holding people accountable for what they've done.
Seems really confusing to live in a place where the rules only apply sometimes.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Wonder if it's like that on other islands.
Where I come from, I don't know if I'd call it necessarily. It is a separate island, but it's connected, so it's not a, it's not its own thing. But it's similar there. It's a little different because of some cultural differences, but it's. I don't want to say it's vastly different. Unlike where it sounds like where you're from. Where you're from sounds like a very interesting place.
I mean, I think all places have something interesting about them.
That is true.
Mouse continues asking questions about how people get wealth and why some of the rules only apply to certain people and how people end up in the penitentiary and how they get out. And for the entire 2 or 3 hour watch, Mouse just keeps asking questions.
Mouse, I'll give you the choice. Both of these, I don't want to suggest that they have any like mechanical weight behind them, but does Mouse pay more attention to sort of this like coaching session from Clax, or more attention sort of gazing up at the night sky, looking out for various stars again, as you always do?
I think this is a good question. I think she is both very focused on this conversation, but I think anytime something's confusing, she looks up. And like, it's almost like a grounding, like okay, here's what I know. Okay, but how is that different from what you're telling me? So I think the focus is still on the conversation, but she's not ignoring the sky either.
Okay. Let me just assign roles for fun. Clax, roll me a persuasion check with disadvantage because she's sort of crossing attention. Okay. And then Mouse. Okay, well, you spent all your good rolls earlier. Okay. And Mouse, roll perception, just a straight roll. Just a straight roll. Okay. So it's not that Clax is confusing in answering your questions in any way. Just perhaps that things aren't inherently in your nature to understand, and so it's just like you aren't resistant to learning them, but it still isn't really making sense to you. But go ahead and roll me a d10 as well.
Ooh.
Get a new star. Big one. This is a bright red star, a constellation in the sky that some folks see as a graveyard of individual stars, as opposed to the constellation that it has also been shown as. It is referred to as the Crimson Guardian. The Crimson Guardian, according to the stories that you've heard, the Crimson Guardian serves as a warning to mortals who dare to venture into the lands of the dead. And it is said that those who see the star in the sky are following a path towards an early demise. Just let that be known. As with all things, these are sort of like fables. These are not, these are things that you've heard from all over, things that you've heard said.
Is the Sapphire Serenade still in the sky tonight?
Are you out looking for it?
I mean, I think as soon as I see something new, I want to look for it without looking for it. I glanced at the same area that it was.
I would say just because the perception check,
yeah,
and that you didn't call it out at first. The time that you spend, you only really find the Crimson Guardian.
That seems fair. I glance around, look, just cursory.
Nothing about the sky tells you that it's that anything is out of place, but your attention was drawn to the Crimson Guardian tonight, so
that's amazing.
And otherwise, you guys don't perceive anything on your watch. Was that all you had, or do you want to move on to the next watch?
Next watch on my end. Mouse, you good?
I'm good.
Okay. Aesop, it is your solo watch, I believe.
Yes.
If you could roll me a perception check, and then let me know what you're doing.
Absolutely. Let me go. And perception. Whew. All right. 30-20. I think... I think I'll go into my parents' room first. And just kind of like... Just like remember them. I'm not trying to get the mindset of, oh, they'll never come back. It's just more of like, I miss them and like, I want to think about them for a little while. So I'll just be in their room, kind of going through their things. Like going through my mom's like armor that she left behind and like her weapons, and going through my dad's memorabilia stuff on the walls, and just kind of like remembering memories, essentially. And when I am... you know what? Is there still mail on, like, the night table?
There's nothing new. It's the same stuff that you flipped through before, sort of stacked up.
Have I looked through it before, or...
Yeah, I'd given you some, like, spam mail, and then there was yours.
Okay.
I'd say one thing that I remember now that would have been added to the pile, Jory did. I recall when you met Jory in Horizon, he mentioned that he would sort of like
drop it off.
Fill them in on anything that happened, and so you see like there's like a message. It's not in a kind of like in an envelope. It's sort of like a little scroll, a little tiny scroll that you sort of open, and it seems that like Jory sort of left a message for your family saying that he saw you recently and that you were doing well, but that was about the extent of it.
I actually will take Actually, I don't know what Mouse and Clax did, but I will also be by the front door, kind of getting that breath of fresh air.
Okay. Yeah, it's a late night at the family home. You sort of looking around in your neighborhood. Unfortunately, I mean it's pretty early in the morning. Even if all your neighbors were home, there probably wouldn't be any lights on at this hour. But it's still almost eerily quiet in that way.
I'm like hoping that I see like another Minotaur walk by. Just like waiting, like, oh, while I'm out here, they'll come back and like I'll see everyone. It'll be like a joyous time. But then no one's gonna come back. So I'm just like, by the end of my watch, I'll just kind of like solemnly go back inside the house and wake up. Drada, are you next?
Yep, and Flint.
Drada and Flint.
Hello.
The kind of wake you up, Drada, by hitting you with the turtle shell necklace. I'm like, good morning. Kind of jiggling.
It's not
on
that
your
long
face.
of a necklace. You must be getting awfully close.
I imagine it to be super long. No, we have
Perfect.
two different
Good
creative
morning.
perspectives.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. I'm gonna go wake up Flint.
Thank you.
You are both awoken. If you could roll me a perception check, and then feel free to discuss things.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Woo! Okay.
Amazing.
Because we're going to be so busy during our watch that we just didn't
Listen.
have time to.
Such engaging conversation.
Everything's real life player Jacob's being distracted by a cat, and Grada is also being distracted by a random cat. By. No, in my own abode. Not yes. Okay. I have a question for you. I joke about you being connected to cool and shady organizations with frequency, and while I'm still very excited to learn more about what these may be, so the like inelegant way of asking the question is, how do you talk to shady people? Because I just don't know how to talk to people, and I would like to be able to. Okay, sorry.
Cat activities.
Yes.
A bird hits the window.
I don't know how to
of
talk
a
to
soft
people,
tone.
and there's a cat attacking my door. I don't. I already sometimes struggle to communicate to people in. But that was me. In a way that people are comfortable with and makes sense for them. And then to throw a whole other layer of like subtext and trying to get a message across without really showing what the talking is already hard. You seem to be good at it.
Oh,
So, like,
I don't know. I don't know about that. I like the idea that somebody who doesn't know Thieves' Cant is about to try to teach Drada Thieves' Cant.
Don't you know Thieves' Cant?
I mean, I'm not a thief. I don't actually have proficiency in it. I know. I think we said in my backstory, like, because I've worked with like the Jade Mask, I kind of, sorta know it.
I would say you have like. Yeah, you don't have it on your character sheet, but you do have some entry level
Fair
stuff.
But it's all about like, like innuendo and analogies and like stuff. Innuendo is probably the wrong word.
An example.
Oh man, Flint's probably better than this than
Do you
Eric
want
is.
to? Do you want to roll an intelligence check, and I can maybe I can help you out.
Sure. Um,
Okay. Um. Do you want me to take over how you describe this to Drada, or do you?
sure. I'm not
Okay.
dead certain what I think Thieves' Cant looks like in your world exactly, anyways. So,
Yeah. So,
um,
so yes, there are words that are written or phrased or disguised to imply other words, which would be sort of like somebody would have to have a key to what those words mean in order to decipher them. That's sort of one way that it could happen, is that you say A, but they know that A means B. Another way, a more advanced way that is highly interpretive and that you don't know, is more physical in nature. It had been, you recall a sort of like meeting that you had, or sort of like a public drop off that you did. You might not explain the event to Drada, but sort of as you're explaining the like how it works, there was you were trying to identify a person to give something to, and or you were of witness to this, that it was at a tea shop, and they were exchanging some kind of signals through the manipulation of the tea, like X amount of sugar cubes implied an amount of pounds, or like stirring the teacup and leaving the spoon facing in a certain direction was sort of designed to be pointing to somebody or something. There was like, not only was there the verbal key, or it's sort of like a call and response, kind of like what Alua told you all in regards to talking to this Francis guy, or this Mistress in Red mission. There's like call and response things, there's keys, or there's physical ways to sort of identify things. But your knowledge of these things, Flint, is that they exist and that they're sort of highly interpretive. And so the ability to actually like to know exactly what to do and what to say is challenging if you're not on the same music sheet as somebody else functionally.
fair. I convey as much as I know and things, but couldn't give him like the actual dance to go through, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was really cool, but like I didn't know these things. And maybe I tell that story, but I like make it just sound a little bit cooler than it really was.
Okay, cool, because you just ended it with I was really cool, but then I didn't know that thing, which makes me think that you might in fact be less cool than I had inferred. However, would be a crushing disappointment that I do not think I could bear. So we're just going to ignore that possibility in its entirety.
So you asked the other day about lockpicks. Do you know how to use lockpicks?
The answer is like, yeah. I guess growing up, occasionally I would sneak around and like try to see if my dad was working on something that maybe I shouldn't have seen, but then I would try to get into his office, but it was behind a locked door, and over time I kind of jerry-rigged it. I'm not like classically trained. No, and as one can be classically trained in the art of lockpicking.
I mean, there's an art to
great.
it.
There's absolutely an art to it. It's not that you go Titlefall Academy to learn how to pick this 6-pronged lock.
Don't mind me just rolling dice.
Oh, that's great. I love everything about the. I love those dice. I love the cat that's screaming behind me. Everything's great. But no, it's something that. It's a skill I haven't used in a while. It feels like it's something that may or may not be more useful the more adventuring we do. So something, I don't know, an old hobby I want to pick up again.
Fair. Do you want to try just like picking some locks around here just to like practice?
Great, let's fuck up Aesop's house.
I mean, you don't mess up a lock by picking it. Unless you
I
really screw up.
slowly rise out of bed. Like, what?
But yeah, if I can pick the lock, sure.
Yeah, sure. I'll give them my
I'm
lock
going
pick.
right to Aesop's bedroom.
Does Aesop lock his bedroom from his teammates?
I think I would. I think I would lock the parents' room.
Yeah.
And so, or then realistically, just if there is a spare room in the house or a bathroom no one's currently using. I'm not here to.
You're practicing locks, you're not snooping. That's my
Yeah,
impression.
there's a time and place for that, and it's not right now.
Sure. Roll thieves' tools.
This is the Nat 1 equivalent. It's just abandoning the lock, abandoning the watch, and going inside.
Where would that be? Thieves' tools.
Under tool proficiencies, although I don't know. If I'm gonna roll it, I'll just roll like. Although I have extra.
Oh, I didn't add tool proficiencies to your. Hold on, let me. Because you are proficient.
So should
correct?
I am proficient. Yes.
Let me just add this really quick so that we can know where it is. Thieves' tools, right there.
I actually
So I've-
don't have a way to do this either. But
I've
not
updated it
urgent.
on your sheet, and it's not here. It must need to be in your inventory, is my guess, and you'd have to use the item. So just go ahead and, for now, roll an acrobatics check, because it's functionally the same dice. Fucking. It's like, was this even locked?
I was all ready to test out my Flash of Genius, like, new ability to give him a bonus, but like, not necessary.
Listen, I'm not good at talking to people, but I'm great at doing certain things. But yeah, the bathroom door just swings open. Okay, that wasn't as bad as I remembered it being.
The locks in this house don't seem very good. All the neighbors are out of town. Do you want to try one of their houses?
Yeah.
Do you actually are?
Have we noticed lots of guards strolling through this neighborhood the last few days?
You have not kept an eye on such things as much as somebody like Clax
That's
would.
fair.
But you do know that Clax has guard buddies that approached him just a few days ago.
How much
as
light
he was
is there outside?
The nature of the citadel in the middle makes it so that the entire town is walkable at night.
Rude.
So, no, but you've literally had guards approach you in front of Aesop's house for loitering.
That's fair.
So,
That's fair. All
Maybe
right.
not.
Maybe it's a bad idea.
I
Some other
appreciate-
time.
I appreciate the enabling.
Drada, roll me. Roll me a d20 and then tell me high or low.
Hate that. Okay.
I don't know. I'm loving this.
Tell me high or low
Wait,
before you roll, I should say.
Let's set
Why does
ourselves
this
up
have to
succeed.
happen
Right.
at my parents' home?
We'll say hi.
Okay. Um, it's happening in the middle of a conversation you're having with Flint. You start to speak about sort of like you open this door so quickly, and you're starting to I don't know that like Drada's like gloating necessarily, but there's like an element of like saying like, oh, it's so easy, I just did XYZ. And you pause. Flint, you notice this pause, but you don't hear what Drada hears. Because Drada, in your head, you hear a voice. That sort of you pause because it throws you off. You weren't expecting to hear anything, but a telepathic message reaches into your mind. You know the sender of this message through these magical means that you're being communicated with. This is an individual named Anushka. I'll spell this out for you later. This is a drow woman from back home, sort of an administrative person. The message you receive in your mind that gives you sort of like a shock and pause is, your message was received. Your parents will be notified. If you're still in consonance, seek out Hardhold at the Burning Needle. He can put you and your companions to work. You recall a while ago sending some mail back home, and it sort of occurs to you that this would have been somebody who's sort of screening mail, almost, who is sending you this message. You get the impression that you can reply, but you know to do so you would have to speak out loud in front of Flint.
Mm-hmm. I think I pause. And then look at the lock that has just been opened, and just saying both to Anushka and to Flint, solid. Okay, thank you.
You okay?
Yeah, this is no longer intending to be replying.
Yeah, you feel this. Sorry, I'm pausing. You feel like when this sensation came to you, like a vibration in your chest almost. And as soon as you offer just the short response, you feel that vibration go away.
And I just go, yeah, no, I'm good. I don't know. Again, I haven't done this since I was a kid, and it just brought up some memories of home and stuff. Just a weird little flashback. There's no trauma there.
I mean, I don't know that it's super normal for like a kid to know how to pick locks, so there might be some trauma there.
Time to find the good old D&D therapist. But yeah, no, there probably is, but that can be investigated on its own time. I'm also now realizing we're supposed to be keeping watch, and we are indoors.
It's fine. Nobody's gonna break in here. We're in like a suburbs.
That feels like a very isolated thing to say, but okay. Yeah, I think Drada would push to go back outside, both to kind of focus, clear his head, and also they should be outside.
Okay. I'm going to give you a second thing, Drada. Well, tell me. No, I'll just make an intelligence check with disadvantage, and disadvantage because you're sort of a little distracted.
Already starting strong.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Could get worse.
something about the conversation you had with Flint, not regarding luck, like something Flint said, you feel like you're missing something about
Okay.
some of his experiences. You don't know what it is though.
Okay.
And it's not about Flint. It's like
Like something in the context of like how
something in the
Flint learned
yeah,
things?
it's like you had an idea about something in the middle of your conversation with Flint when you were talking about Thieves' Cant and such. And but you can't put your finger on what it was. But you all wake up. An active night of long rests, but no incidents per se.
I realized we forgot to do it last night, but I would have probably filled in Aesop on all the like guild discussions we had.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
As we're sitting around this morning, is there anything you think it would be particularly useful for, namely me, to be able to do today? I'm not quite sure which spells I should be focusing on.
Maybe keeping the locate plant spell would be useful.
Makes sense.
In case we get into a fight or some drama happens, like spells to protect.
Anything to increase stealth or hide people.
Oh, that's smart.
Just because if I'm involved, just remember.
Trace as always.
Yeah, I was gonna say because on my end, just remember any stealth checks I do have to make will be with disadvantage.
One of these days, I'll finish making my breastplate, and then I won't be at disadvantage.
Whoa.
How many of us have enhance ability?
I can take it.
I have it.
Currently prepared.
Okay. As long as at least one of us has it, in case we're talking to somebody important or something.
Are we doing this? I'm like making avocado toast for everyone this morning. No, with the bread that Clax got yesterday. But I'm like toasting it up.
Goddamn.
Sorry,
millennials.
Clax. There's no meat in this, but it is filling. One of my favorite snacks.
Thank you very much. Ow. Ow.
Just a two biter,
Yep.
just one loaf.
Yep.
All right. Well, do we want to head for the penitentiary? Is there anywhere we need to go other than that?
Excuse me, sorry.
Still
Aesop
the
is
morning.
tired this morning, I know.
It's early, yeah.
So I usually am when I wake up for work. But can I check on Neptus? Can I see if the black crack has increased? I have not checked in on him in a hot second.
I think in-game, I mean, in real life, it's been like a month, but in-game, it's only been like 2 days. So, yeah, feel free to give me a perception check. As you sort of peer into it.
Not bad.
I feel like that's the first time you've rolled over like a 6. Usually, you always look and it's a low roll. You sort of peer at it more closely, and it's not getting better, and it's probably getting a little worse. It's not the black tendril of energy that you sort of spotted in it early on.
Mm-hmm.
Almost kind of looked like a little crack on the inside of the gem. And there have been a few, like, as you look at it sort of more closely, there are a few like small splinters that are sort of seeming to come from a central point.
Yeah.
So, you know, it doesn't seem like it's a rapid thing,
Right.
but you do notice that it is getting a little worse.
Got it. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you. I do not say anything. Just kind of note that to myself.
Well, I assume. Sorry, I was taking notes, but I assume Gift of Alacrity has been cast, of course, and spells are being prepared. What sort of is the strategy? I know that there's been. Well, you guys can discuss this as a group, but I just want to sort of recap. Alua proposed going through her inside man, Francis. But that was before the options around Mouse's spell were sort of floated. You've talked about all going together. You've talked about some of you staying out of it because of the familiarity of your faces. But sort of recapping all that, go ahead and discuss sort of like what your approach is as you're preparing for the morning.
Can I, as part of my like prep work, take 10 minutes and ritually cast locate plants again, just to see if I get a different result?
Sure. Yeah. In this sort of, just for flavor, in this sort of circumstance, you just, throughout the ritual, you kind of feel you like close your eyes and sort of see the stars reflected from the inside of your eyelids, and know that know that they're there, even if they're not visible in the sky. But nonetheless, you don't get any pings within 5 miles.
I mean, we could head over to like factory precinct type area and try and cast that again and see if we get a hit on the other side of town. The more we talk about how valuable this flower is and rare it is and everything, I'm questioning that we're going to find any other than that one flower in town, and so stealing it might be problematic. I don't know if that is better or worse than us, talking and buying it. I'm assuming it is probably worse.
Do we have enough money to buy it?
Don't know yet.
I don't know.
No, I like Flint's idea of let's head on over to the factory precinct. We can kind of talk about it as we walk, but yeah, I definitely think I'm not very good at dealing with these types of people. If this guy's a fence or whatever his role is, I just don't know how well I'd be at it. And honestly, I ain't stealthy, so if we have to creep around do anything, like I just worry I'm going to make a mess of this. Is really what I'm saying, and this is where I'm asking you as my friends. Can you help me out in this one?
I mean, Aesop can talk to anybody.
I appreciate that, but I will probably be nervous with this, as I also feel like I should disguise myself as well, as I am known relatively to the line.
If you want help lurking, I'm more than happy to help you lurk. I'm also more than happy to be nearby, hidden, and ready to take a shot if things go down and things go poorly. Hoping that is not the case.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of you kind of being separate from the group. So I
Worked
think
really well last time we were in combat.
I
died almost. Yeah, it was a bit. Moving on.
Well, again, hopefully we're not going to get into combat of any kind. So, I mean, I can go and meet this person, but I just, I don't know how well it will go.
I think it's not a bad idea for multiple of us to go, and I mean, if you're real worried about it, I can try to talk to them, but I'm not really much better at it than you are.
Then how about this? When we get there, and we're walking the whole time, by the way, right? Everybody's doing that.
Assuming, I will say that you can walk and talk, but depending on what you're talking about, some roads are more traveled than others.
Oh, understood. Okay.
This is kind of happening over breakfast, I imagine.
Okay. So then do a couple of us want to go up and meet, and the others play lookout, keep an eye out, move to strategic positions as we kind of figure out what's going on and what this is going to look like?
I feel like I would be good on both ends. On one, I could help the conversation. On two, I can, if there was a conflict, I can get me and one other person to the conflict very quickly.
And then maybe because you are better known around the city, maybe you hang back if you can get people in. And then
and Mouse could be with us as like a badger or something small, if we really wanted to try and minimize our footprint or whatever that's in the discussion.
I also think that I have the ability to take someone with me now. I'd have to look it up. Are you upcasting Misty Step?
No, I have Dimension Door.
Yeah.
That's better.
Misty Step, you cannot carry other people. Thunder Step, you can.
Thunder Step.
I don't know if that's Druid.
That also
no upcast on
makes a lot of noise.
Yeah, Thunder Step is not the stealthy approach.
All right, so Flint, if you're good, maybe me and you can approach. Then Mouse, if you want to be a creature on the side, and then Drada, or actually Mouse, if you want to stay with Asa, then since he can get someone close to us, and then Drada, I almost feel your expertise is best in the shadows and away from everybody. Or if there's an opening. And again, maybe we're overthinking this because we haven't even met the fence yet. So maybe when we meet them, we'll get a whole different lay of the land and what's going on.
I think I could also buff one of you and then be a badger in your pocket so that I'm handy.
I don't know how big our pockets are. Badgers aren't like tiny, are they?
Well, your pockets are much smaller than Clax's.
Still think a badger might be a little.
I think I can be a weasel too. Let me check. Open
all
my
about
shop.
that
Sure, you can be a weasel. That's fine.
Yeah, I'll happily lurk.
I want to be a friendly DM and remind you as well that there's another element to this. Certain passcodes that were given to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's not
Singing and Harmony, Emerald Feather.
Yeah. So, which I mean to say, like, you can decide to have Aesop or somebody do the talking, but it's not necessarily. I just want to be clear above board that it's not necessarily a charisma role as much as it is like who can do the job.
Do we know who this like contact is exactly? Like, are we going to his shop? Are we just showing up at his house? Is this like a guard at the penitentiary? Like, I feel like the context might make these code words a little complicated to say without drawing attention.
I think we need to find Francis first. It's probably the easiest thing. He's near can be found near the penitentiary. So I think we just take a lap around the pen when we get there, see if there's any establishments or any, heaven forbid, dealers hanging out. get a feeling, and then kind of explore, see if anybody's Francis, or if anybody will talk to alert us where Francis is, and we go from there.
Can we all make some of you look a little less upstanding if we're going this place? feel like Clax and Aesop are both a little problematic in this setting.
I can disguise myself.
That's fair, and that'd work. I just think for standard.
Get a real janky robe.
Yeah, you did give me that robe, so I'll just look like a fat, dragonborn. But
I don't think the robe disguises you.
Correct, but it just covers, I can make it look like whatever on the outside, but the dimensions are still going to be the same. I'm still going to look like I'm wearing armor. So I think if it's just maybe look like a disheveled fat dragonborn.
I mean, I can make you small if that's the problem.
I don't
look like a dragonborn, right?
You just always look like a cop. How do we...
Well, thank you.
Just need to be a little more disheveled, a little...
Yeah, just start saying a mantra to yourself. I love crime. I love crime. Drugs are great. Drugs are great. And just repeat that a lot. And I'm sure they'll buy in.
Fox doesn't know how to respond.
Just don't stand up quite so straight.
Honestly, Mastrada's posture.
Yeah, there you go. Anyways. So we'll give Aesop a robe of some kind to cover up his suit and bow tie.
Yes.
I mean,
I will definitely.
Aesop has a change of clothes in the closet. Now, is it all cleanly pressed and
yes,
pristine
and colorful? Yes.
But it can be. You could, I don't know, rub some of it in some dirt. I don't know.
I don't think I have the courage to do that.
Fair enough.
So I will just cast a spell before we head out. Or when we get closer.
Yeah, when you're because it lasts an hour, I believe.
Yeah.
Disguise self. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what is so you all start walking. What is your intended? What is the sequencing in what you want to locate and when? I know that with Mouse's spell, you can perhaps identify where the flower is, but alternative, you don't know if that's where Francis is. So where's your first direction?
I think once we get to the area we think we're close to in the right district, we dive into an alley and recast locate plants just to see if we get a hit before we go to meet Francis. Yeah. I would also, just before you go any further, I would also be willing to cast it outright if we don't have 10 minutes to do it as a ritual. If I'm worried about people seeing us and being weird, I'll just cast it.
That's one of the things I was going to bring up, is that it's sort of and Clax would be sort of keeping an eye out for probably guard presences and stuff like that, just in a more passive perception way. But it's sort of you do know that if you every 10 minutes or every half hour duck somewhere to cast a spell, that it could be suspicious. So it's sort of I guess I'm asking, the first time it might be okay, but the more you're trying to narrow it down and you're sort of hovering in a certain area, where somebody could see you cast the same thing twice, that's maybe where it gets questionable. So the first time you sort of you could honestly just find a bench in the factory precinct and just be oh, we're just taking a break, and you cast it ritually. you do receive, it's sort of like as your eyes are closed, it's almost like a constellation is forming in the shape of a compass, and an arrow points in the direction towards the penitentiary. Not directly at it, but the impression you're getting from where you're, I would say, where we'll say that you're like right here-ish. The direction would tell you that it's either one of these houses that you're really close to, or it's probably on the other side of the wall.
That makes sense. I share that with the group. My intention wasn't to just keep pinging it, unless something crazy happened and we lost track of Francis for whatever reason. But I will let everybody know that it is here and in the vicinity, and that I have the ability to locate it. It'll just eat spell slots.
Well, and I think I got the impression that we were going to talk to Francis, and they were going to set up a meeting with someone else.
Correct.
So
I will say, it does say distance.
Does it?
Yes, it's direction and distance to the closest creature or plant of that kind.
Okay. Okay, I will give you the distance. That said, it is sort of like you're pointing over a wall, so you're still like not, you can't see the house. Like you're not going to be able to point directly at the house, but you are able to discern that it's about, I would say, 2 miles away from you.
I share that with everyone else. I'm not familiar with the town to know what is 2 miles that way.
Which would at least confirm that it's past the wall.
Yep. 2 miles that way, we're getting pretty close to the edge, so.
I would say, and for the purposes of it, it's more on this side, because I see people's cursors floating around somewhere in this vicinity.
All right. Shall we?
Let's do it.
Ooh.
So you're looking for Francis?
Francis.
I would say once we get into the Edge District, I will cast Disguise Self, which, let me see what I can do with that spell.
While you're doing
I'll probably do 1 foot shorter, maybe a little bit bigger body, and make all of my clothes on me look like a very simple, like, long sleeve, like, what's the weather right now? Clothes dependent on the weather.
It's getting colder because it's almost fall.
Okay,
but
so I'll do
late
like,
summer, early fall.
I'll do like a warm cloak that's tattered at the edges. Ooh, I'll just still show my horns. I don't think I can cover those.
Disguise Self, you can change your race, can't you?
I don't think so. You can't change your body type. I assume horns are part of that.
I've always assumed that Disguise Self was more...
Says...
Oh, yes, you're... No, but so that's saying you can't become a squid. Like, as long as you have 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head.
Okay.
That's my interpretation of Disguise Self, is that, like, you can't be a different... You can't be a non-humanoid.
Okay. Then I will I'll look like Winter, but in really tattered clothing. Because I know exactly what she looks like.
I will say
But
she's probably she's tall. Yeah, it would be taller. Because
Yes.
I tend to imagine she's not 6 feet.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just a really tall tiefling.
Yeah, you all see Aesop. There's a striking resemblance to the Glassis and Iglis Ferelia, who you all met at the Tournament of Tales briefly, but a much younger daughter form that is dressed down in clothes that probably aren't befitting her station, you would expect.
Yeah. Oh, not at all. She would be very pissed off if she saw this image of her. But I would look to the rest of the group and just be like, in case she ever pops up, this is what she looks like. The daughter of those really fun parents we met at the tournament. But I thought this would be a good disguise.
Not like famous or anything, are they?
Just the parents.
Okay. Drada will also cast Disguise Self, but instead of a person, it's back to Chad Drada. But this time, not. I don't think there's no merch. It's plain tattered clothing, and I think everything has, like, if it was like our city jock blonde hair last time, this time it's just like nice light brown, and there's dirt on the face, and just much more subdued version.
Very good. And I think, and Clax, you used the cloak. Just there's limitations to it, but what do you sort of turn it into?
I imagine I kind of bring it around myself and just kind of look like I'm kind of again. The cloak makes me look like I'm kind of disheveled, fatter clothes, like try and hide the fact that I'm wearing armor, and I'm going to try and hunch over a little bit to kind of sell it that I'm not uppity Dudley Do Right.
Okay. And then Flint and Mouse, are you doing anything particularly different?
I have so few spell slots, but I think I'm going to go ahead and also cast Disguise Self.
Everybody.
Yeah, apparently we can all cast it.
So no.
Poor Clax and a bunch of mercenaries and a badger.
Yeah, I'll just generic dwarf mercenary looking type, nothing notable. Can I make myself look big enough to be a dwarf?
You can be a short dwarf.
All right.
Dwarf.
And Mouse.
I think a badger might be a little conspicuous, and I'm a little worried even about weasel. So I might just go to cat. Because I feel like a cat can be anywhere and nobody's gonna think too hard about it.
Okay.
Before we approach, we'll also be passing without tracing. Just like right before we get close, just to maximize the time.
Okay. I don't know if I've shared all of Mouse's AI-generated art, but
My cat form is cute.
Oh, that is so cute.
Your cat form is so good.
The green eyes, the green glowing eyes.
Okay, pass without a trace is up. If it comes to it, just as a reminder that it is a concentration spell, but Disguise Self is not, so you're good. And who is leading the investigation to find Francis?
Well, I don't know about leading an investigation, but oh god, Flint.
I was going to say I would guess that Flint is, but I don't know.
Drada, are we splitting off at this point?
I would say probably not entirely abandoning the party, but like
At a distance.
from a distance.
Does Guys without a trace only work if you're within range?
Yes,
Yes.
that's why I'm saying within a short distance away. But if it's to the side, next to a building or a corner or behind a tree, or if there's a ruined wall anywhere, then classic, slow, stealthy moving.
Okay, I'll put up my cloak then. Make sure face is a little more hidden. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I'm just generally arranging which team is which. Like, so. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a team that's sort of waiting on the wings while other teams are sort of making any formal approaches? Like, what is sort of the formation that you will land on? Because not like if you're looking to find somebody, that's not necessarily a stealth mission, especially if you don't know what they look like.
Yeah, I don't think it's super important for Clax and I to necessarily be stealthy.
Not yet, yeah.
Okay.
I kind of intended to stay with Aesop and Drada, just at their feet, a little bit underfoot, but a little bit. I'm a cat.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we are very much reacting to what's happening ahead of us.
Okay. Then, for the purposes of this, if perhaps making assumptions that Clax is maybe helping Flint with an investigation roll, and then the three of you are in their vicinity, keeping an eye on them. If the three of you could roll a stealth check, and we'll add plus
I'll
10
get
to
plus
those
10s,
Yes.
baby.
We'll just add that after the fact.
In post.
Stealth, sorry, right?
Yes.
Oh, I said that wrong. I meant to be with Blinks and Clax.
Flint and Clax.
Flint.
Flint.
Thanks, yes.
I'm sorry, we could never play at a campaign together again.
Apparently. I've played characters named Blinks and Baz, and apparently.
Okay. Well, you don't get the plus 10, but you're just sort of there. Your stealth roll is not helping the investigation. Your stealth roll is to be like to be a cat and not to be like their pet, perhaps. To just be a random cat.
We have plus 10 on our stealth rolls, right, Drada?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which are not high except for the plus 10, so thank God for that. But Flint, if you could roll investigation with advantage from Clax. Okay.
And just for fun, because I don't use it very much, I'll flash of genius. Say 4 charges and add a plus. Just my intelligence modifier. Yeah, add my intelligence modifier. So another plus 4.
Okay. What is? I mean, I'm gonna just so that you don't just use it all the time freely. I'm gonna ask what is the flash of genius that Flint has looking for this Francis person? Like how do you? What is his thought process in this investigation?
Okay. I think he'd channel his inner like delinquent, and just trying to think through like where I think this sort of shady contact would be. Trying to think through, with this. What was your person's name? Alora? No,
Alua. Alua. Yeah, there we go.
Alua. Trying to think about like what kind of contact Alua would want to work with. Maybe it's not someone who's obviously shady, and then also sort of trying to subtly ask around for instance, in ways that don't seem suspect, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good for me. So a lot of you, this is your first time exploring this area. Mouse, surprisingly, it's not. This is the neighborhood that you met a certain down on their luck person some long time ago. And of course, Clax, you've been around before, and some of these sites that you see, Clax, are familiar to you, although you're able to blend in a little bit with the look of your friends and not spook anybody in your guard nature. But this is as you're getting closer and closer to the penitentiary, there are a number of sick people, many of which who might just sort of have a lack of food or shelter. Some who've sort of set up tents to have as much shelter from the elements as they can. Some who are, the opinions of these characters. I don't want to fill them in for you. I as a out of character professional who works in the homeless service sector, feel like I'm very cautious about the way I say things, so I don't want to prescribe all of these people as bad or like drug addicts or anything like that. A lot of these people, society has probably wronged them in some way, and they've found themselves on the edge because it's the only place they can afford, or the only place that they're not able to, the only place that they can sort of like survive for one way or the other. But there are also, you witness as you're sort of walking through the streets, you do witness people drinking this red, steaming liquid, and then like vomiting it back up and staring at the sky, which Clax knows to be this vapor drug. So regardless of how your characters feel about it, it's just kind of sad, unfortunately, is that people find themselves in this circumstance and find themselves here doing these things. And it's sort of Flint, in that sort of flash of genius, you guys are able to blend in enough to know that to not be circumspect as you do start to see folks who are taking advantage of the situation. There are individuals who Clax is able to sort of like whisper in your ear and identify as like that's a corner that some people sell on, and you see up ahead, like 100 feet from you, transactions going down. And it's sort of in your flash of genius that you see or you hear an individual who's refusing to sell vapor to somebody, and that sort of rings in your mind as like there's a recognition in this person's tone that they don't want to hurt this person as part of them doing their job and selling this. And you imagine that this person has a compassion that probably aligns with Alua in a way that, like, obviously they're doing a job that is shady and bad, but they're trying their hardest to you kind of read into a situation of somebody trying to blend in and be an inside man without sort of killing or hurting people in the process, which is a very challenging thing to do.
Are they selling to some people and just not somebody who looks particularly rough? Or
there's one person who in this moment, there's not like a line or anything. This is sort of like a corner with several sort of disheveled homes. There's a group of what Clax is able to sort of whisper in your ear and identify as like a small gang, for lack of a better words, that are selling. But the one who is sort of denying this is a sort of thin human man with a long, scraggly beard who's wearing kind of like a blue cloak, who is sort of, it's only in the distance that you're hearing this, but he's saying, you're hearing basically like, no, not for you, go away. And it sort of like is ringing in your ear like why wouldn't they just take the money? Why do they care?
all right. I'll maybe keep an eye on this person for a hot second and kind of nod in that direction to Clax, letting him know what I've sort of spotted, and just sort of wait for this person to maybe be a little bit more alone, not with like a line of people if I can help it.
Yeah, there's no. So eventually, the person who's trying to buy gets kind of shooed off, and then the group of dealers, including this one individual, sort of like settle down into like a seating arrangement. So presently, it looks like any kind of approach would be approaching the group.
We want to approach the group. If there's a group who's going to know who Francis is that is there, but also if that's a moniker that's not known because of our contact, do we risk blowing everything apart?
Yeah, I'm trying to think about how to frame these keywords in front of a group and fit them into a conversation that doesn't feel so blatantly obvious. So we've got to say singing in harmony and emerald feather.
Can't we just say them?
I think it's pretty obvious that we're trying to like speak in like a coded message. If we just say them. And if he was alone, maybe that'd be fine. But
What do you think? Do you think we wait for them to disperse, or do we go up and talk to them?
Think about that for a moment, as just sort of giving Aesop and Drada a chance to react to what they observe. You see the group of your friends halted, sort of considering their next steps, but the two of you are you guys alleyway team, rooftop team? How does the pair of Clax and
I don't think Aesop is gonna have a great time jumping from rooftop to rooftop.
No,
And that's not a judgment statement. That's just
I
observation.
absolutely understand. Yes.
So team alleyway, absolutely.
Yep. I think if we're trying to keep away from the first group, if they halt, I feel like we would immediately advert our like direction into like to the side or to like one of the alleyways. So it still doesn't look like we're part of their group.
Seconded.
You rolled high enough to accomplish that, but is there anything you're doing or talking about as you're sort of stealthily sleuthing around?
Well, if worst comes to worst, I can bamf us to their location from a pretty far distance. I just need to like either recognize like what building they're in or how far away they are, and then I could try to judge from there. However, the more vague, the more iffy things can get. However, I also do need you 5 feet away in order for me to grab you and go.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, let's hope we don't have to do that.
Yeah.
But,
I kind of tell Drada like the logistics of the spell in
Okay.
case we need to use it.
Okay.
cool.
Back to front team.
are we able to? Because they're just selling vapor, essentially. Like it doesn't sound like they're hiding that fact all that much.
Presently, it does not seem like they do, and I would say Clax. You add the flavor that you want to this Clax, but this is an area of town that it's almost impossible to stop this sort of trade, because the attention that a single guard unit can give to the entire edge is difficult. So it's sort of like whack-a-mole that they feel pretty comfortable selling in some areas, knowing that the business is still going to be in other areas, especially on the edge. You can just throw the evidence off if you have to.
Yeah. Not a whole lot more to add, but it comes down to just sheer logistics. For us to be able to monitor, it would take every guard unit all day, 24/7, to be out here to prevent stuff from happening. So it's one of those things. We just don't even spend the resources to be out here. That's the truth of it. And so shit like this runs rampant.
Fair. I guess the people that have like come up to them at different points that they maybe shoot off or whatever, and potentially maybe other people that they've sold to, are they just blatantly coming up and asking if they're selling vapor, or
Well, you haven't really gotten that close yet to.
Okay.
Like the one person who got shoot off was sort of being yelled away, so you picked up some of the vibes and the words, but like a lot of the, in the time you spent like maybe 10 extra minutes just scoping out this place out, knowing that there's a timer on your guys' spells and such. Yeah. But it seems like a lot of people making a more quiet approach, and then there's a handoff. But it's also not, it's vapor isn't flying off the shelves. It's not, it's not like a storefront that is. There's a lot of people approaching to read this situation off of.
All right, let's just like walk over there. We'll be nonchalant. And maybe as we're walking over there and getting close, I'd like look at Clax and be like, yeah, this stuff's gonna be great, and maybe say just a little too loud, like it'll have you singing in harmony, and whatnot, like trying to sort of act like we're not, I don't know, but like also kind of try to make eye contact with this guy as I say that out of the corner of my eye.
How close do you get, sort of as you're hyping up the product?
Fairly close. Like I'd say we're walking towards this group to try to like buy the product. And I like look over at Clax and say that as we're getting fairly close. Not like at that like conversation distance quite yet, but like close enough that they could definitely hear me.
Okay. You're getting within like 10, 15 feet, 15 to 10 feet. You're not like standing right up on them yet, but you shout that, and one of the individuals, not the one with the scraggly, long blue chin, blue beard, blue robe, thin beard. It's not them who sort of like raises hand. It's almost seems like a lackey or somebody who sort of like holds up your hand to stop your approach. And this other individual who seems like a younger, not child, but like a young adult human man, sort of like looks at you all, looks at the two of you and this cat who is just sort of like nearby, doesn't really look at the cat, and says, "Haven't seen you around. What you looking for?"
We heard you get something that smells good around here.
They all sort of look at each other. Roll me just a persuasion check.
We did not give.
Yeah.
It's cheesy to try and just back to back use all my flash of geniuses, but
I think it's going to be harder to use that. Like you would have to add something to your speech.
Yeah.
To be icing on the cake. But I will say, in such a role, I mean, Clax, you are being persuaded in this moment too. You see the reactions that people get, because you have a sort of similar reaction in your stomach of like, what kind of introduction is that? So you have an opportunity to interject.
What my friend's trying to say here is we're really looking for a specific person who I heard can hook us up with some good stuff. I'm looking for a Francis. And see if I see any reaction from anybody when I mention the name.
Go and roll an insight check.
I'm so good at those.
Am I able to trigger wheel in cat form?
I'm just smiling at bad rolls. Can I give me just 1 second to read it? I kind of like, it's one of those things where I don't see why not, but I do want to just give it a look. Cosmic Omen. I mean, mechanically, there's no reason not to. I would. What does it mean to mount? We'll say yes, but like, what does wheel look like in Mouse's eyes? Like, how is she able to sort of determine the future as a cat?
This is a very good question. I sort of figured it was sort of in parallel with like a wizard's divination abilities, in that like it's less that I can influence it in the moment so much as I studied the stars and just got a little extra push and gave some guidance before we got here.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, like you gave somebody a preemptive guidance because you knew that there was something was going to happen.
But I doubt a D6 is going to make a very big difference.
Let's roll it anyway if you want to use that ability. Because a 2 is really low, so you could quadruple the result. Is that... are you going to roll that, or does Clax roll that?
I can roll that.
Okay. I mean, from a 2 to a 7 is
Not
a
that
mark.
bad.
Yeah. There's a look that they all sort of like look at each other before this sort of like lackey figure who's doing all the talking right now sort of turns back and says, "Who's asking?"
Someone who's just looking to get high and maybe hang out with some friends and do some singing in harmony.
Yeah, what's it matter? I hear you sell this stuff at a cost of an emerald feather anyways. Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah. It's like, I as a DM didn't expect anything that was like well crafted, but I wasn't expecting it to happen so quickly. Go ahead. You can both roll me a persuasion check.
Jeez. Max and I both have outstanding charisma. Oh, I thought mine was the other roll. God damn it. Apparently Flint is not actually good at crime in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, man. The person who's been doing all the talking... Well, okay. So I'm making a lot of rolls here, and the game's about to be over, so I want to end at a point where we can react to it at the beginning of the next session. But both of you give me an insight roll too, because you both know that you've dropped the phrase, and so you have to be able to see how people react. Okay, Flint, you're doing your best. Clax, you do see that the man with the thin beard raises an eyebrow in a look of recognition. The problem is that the people who you expect this to be Francis, people that Francis surrounds himself with, don't know what the hell you guys are talking about and are a little suspicious of like these fanciful words being thrown around for seemingly no reason.
You know what? I don't think this is the right place. Then I'll go find someone else, and I'm just gonna grab Flint by the shoulder and just kind of start walking away, and continue the direction we were coming. Not head back the way we came, but continue going the direction we came, or we're headed towards, and just start walking down.
I'm looking at Grata like, what are they doing? What are they doing? What's happening?
No, but we're going to follow them from a safe distance.
Okay.
I will not immediately follow, and will cat around and see if anyone says anything or comments about these two that just left.
I'll, as Clax is pulling me away, blurt out, "Yeah, these guys don't seem like the right people. Let's go hang out at the Elegant Rapier. I've hear they've got some beautiful gifts over there." I was like trying to look through my notes to find the name of this damn bar to say loud enough while we were in earshot of this guy.
It's smooth. I'm just saying it. Just smooth.
Yeah, except all my charisma rolls don't match that. But try to give this guy enough of a hint that we're going to the Elegant Rapier so that he can potentially meet us there later.
Okay. They don't stop you from leaving, although you feel an air of tension just behind you. Mouse, go ahead and roll me insight or perception, depending on, like, are you wanting to hear words or are you wanting to get a feel of these people? I guess, arguably you could do both. So I guess do both if you'd like.
You are muted.
I think they should both be +7. And they are +6. So
Oh, right, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You sort of observe the man that you've probably been able to assume is Francis as well, is sort of approached by these people who he's working with, and one of the individuals says, one of the lackeys is sort of says to him, like, "The fuck do you think they're talking about? What was that?" Francis sort of, let's roll for Francis. I don't have an exact stat sheet for this, so we're just going to say that this is like a +3.
Oh no, Francis. We walk away, Francis gets shanked.
Mouse, you see that Francis is struggling for words at the moment. If there's anything you would do about that.
I will break out some parkour and like leap, 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 just to like give a momentary distraction to like let everybody stop overthinking and then run away.
Are you like, and you're being noisy in the process?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well.
I'm pulling attention.
Okay. I'll allow that to be the help action for Francis. Everybody looks away for a second, and Francis kind of clears his throat and says, "I don't know. You see, you kind of so you're still doing your insight at the same time, and he says, we should check it out, just to be safe." And the guy says, "All right." The lackey sort of starts to try to find volunteers, and Francis says, "You guys hold down the fort. I'll check it out myself. It could be nothing." And they seem to defer to him in this moment. So as you sort of get a quick check on the situation, you feel comfortable just sort of like darting into an alleyway, knowing that Francis perhaps will be tailing the party soon. Drada and Aesop, you sort of see this unfold without needing to roll any kind of perception check. You see your team walking away. You see that like this one blue-cloaked, thin-bearded person seems to be following them or getting ready to follow them, but you didn't hear any of the conversation.
Were they successful?
You know, it was kind of hard to read.
Yeah. I
We
mean,
failed successfully.
Also, was that mouse knocking over a trash can in dramatic fashion?
I hope it
Or
was.
was that just a cat? I also hope it was a mouse. I mean, I guess we continue following and
Right.
see wherever I mean, we're just going to be watching these people walk for like the next 3 hours, and that's fun. That's really fun for us.
I mean, I would have to cast Disguise Self 3 times, but you know.
I mean, at a certain point, that feels like a lot of effort, and we're just going to walk. But good if you wanted to.
You guys, as being the I would say the back of the line of the
Yep.
train,
Mhm.
each of you give me a perception check, just as you're sort of deciding how to continue.
Thought that was a 2. Good one.
Okay.
Pretty good.
I think you're too far away to really hear things, but the sort of sequence of events is that you've seen your party leave, you've seen this cat trailing after them, and you've seen this thin, scraggly man trailing after them. But then you notice that 2 more seem to be trailing the thin man as well. It seems to be that, and you just sort of, you clock that there's, you'll need to figure out a way at the beginning of next game to figure out how to deal with that. But it's not just Francis who is on this trail at the moment.
Great.
But it is 10:07, so we'll leave it there. Those are some hilarious rolls.
Yeah.
Oh, D&D.
Dice told a really fun story tonight.